Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Information is power.
Tell the truth.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to this
All right, everybody, let's get it going. Welcome to the program, everybody. Welcome to the Information Man Show, the experience. Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Time's been moving slowly, so we already in too deep. Can't get no sleep on each other. Heavy teasing all day, and when the sun sets, you asking me to come through, kick it with you. Night turning to morning dew. Then you feel rushing and lose control. You don't wanna go slow, for sure. We both already know your place is my place now. My place is your place, let's face it. Baby, you know all the places. Places. My place is your place. My place. Your place is my place. Just face it. No one knows my places like you do.
Tell the truth.
is power.
My place like you do. Baby, don't stop. Got the key to the lock. We in our own zone. Make yourself at home.
Tell the truth.
To know mine on the inside. You can meet at yours next time. And you feel it rushing in. Lose control. You don't wanna go slow, for sure. We both already know your place.
Tell the truth.
Is my place now. My place is your place. Let's face it. Baby, you know all the places. Places. My place is your place. Your place is my place. Just face it. No one knows my places like you do. Your place
Yeah. Raising the Tobagos, we growing like fresh tomatoes. Them boys on fire, too fuego. We pass it round, hot potato. Everything is nuevo. I'm with my sweetie like Quavo. Need my cheese, need that queso. Need my bread, need that bankroll. Wake up, yes, Lord, I'm thankful. Another day on my schedule. Steady blocking the devil. I tell a hater, God bless you. Cherish moments that special. You gotta keep the memento. If you love me, then I love you, and I could never forget you. Some memories don't fade. Sometimes you miss the old days, but nothing changed unless you change what's around you, how you think, how you live, how you speak, how you walk, how you blink, how you talk, how you teach, how you reach, let it sink. What's your purpose? What's your passion? Get it paid? What's your plan? Is it plane? On a plane? Out your plane? What's your plan? What's your purpose? What's your passion? Get it paid? What's your plan? Is it plane? On a plane? Out your plane? I'm just playing. A beat by Joby, feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi, cause I'm a star and they can't hold me like I'm Kobe in the fourth. Yeah, nothing is ever forced. We headed straight to the source. No middleman, little man. Let me show you if you was lost. It's a couple college courses, but I ain't finished that shit. Been chasing dreams.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Tell the truth.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you. Thank you. What's up, everybody? Peace. Peace. Thank you for coming on over to the Information Man Show. Let me take something off the screen here. The countdown has been over. I really appreciate everybody that's here. This is going to be, I think, a great live stream. Now, when you say to yourself, well, Info is doing a live stream about, well, the hidden, what's happening with Hollywood. We may think that we know what they're doing, and then we may think we know, and what we think we know ain't what we know, because there may be other ingredients that are happening. Today, I have a very special guest on, Brother Armstrong, who is backstage with me right now. He's backstage. I'm going to bring him up. This man has experience in entertainment in terms of he's a filmmaker. He understands the art of how Hollywood operates and how it works. So what we're getting here today on this program is inside information. A brother who has assessed and analyzed what is happening in Hollywood and why we see the things that we're seeing. There is a hidden hand. As you see on my thumbnail, I've got that hidden hand. And I've always believed that there's a hidden hand of billionaires, people like George Soros, who are doing what we call social engineering. You hear that? Social engineering.
Tell the truth.
Doing things to manipulate us. And then they use these groups that we're familiar with. And I'm going to have this brother talk on that. There are various groups that we're familiar with that have been going on today, that's happening today. And we think that they are here to fight for a good cause, like Black Lives Matter, to fight for our good fight. When a lot of these groups are nothing but front groups for a bigger agenda being manipulated right before our eyes. Hollywood manipulation. I'm going to take you through a whole journey here with this brother, because this manipulation has been going on for a long time. When you look at how they portray black men in Hollywood, how they feminize us, how they're quick to put us in a dress, all these different things. This is not happening just from circumstance, right? Hollywood, there's a puppeteer. You all saw The Godfather. There's a bigger puppet that's manipulating all of this, manipulating us, social engineering us, bringing us to a very dark and deep place that is not in the best of our interests. Okay, we're going to talk about this. But when it comes to black people in the history of cinema, let me do this. Let me show you something. And I'm going to bring this up. What's going on, Dream? We got DOD. It's all hot air. Brother L. Nix, the voice of reason, is in the house. Make it make sense TV. Empress Queen's in the house here. Everybody that comes in, however small or large audience, we'll see how it all turns out. But I'm just glad to have you all here. If you can, share this video in your social media, your community tabs, get more folks over here, because you're going to hear in this discussion things that you've never heard. The reason why I say this is because we have a brother here. It's not just like it's someone who's talking about these things, but have no foot and 10 tones down in the industry when it comes to making films. This brother, I had a chance to look at one of his videos this whole weekend damn near, and he talks about how when he makes scripts, how he knows that Hollywood, if he tries to do it the Hollywood way, they're going to try to gut his script, that there are scripts, let me say that right. There are scripts that are gutted, that are manipulated to do what? Manipulate us. So understand why we see the things that we see. When you look at Netflix, There was a Netflix movie, I think it was on Black Mirror, where you had two prominent black male actors. They were both, one was married, one was sort of a playboy, right? And I know Brother Armstrong knows what I'm talking about. And they were playing a video game. Well, in the video game, they were having an affair with each other by using avatar characters, one male, one female. But you know what the bigger agenda that they were trying to push here. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that people have the right to be with whoever they want to be with, what have you. But I'm talking about the hidden agendas to socially engineer how we see people, how they try to redefine what gender is. We know, I'm just keeping it real with y'all. We know that we're born into the world as male and female with various organs that represent male and female. Okay, that cannot be denied. That's biology. And then they're now telling us today, in today's society, they're trying to redefine what is male and what is female. I'm sorry, I know what I am. Anyone else that has their preferences are good to have those preferences, but you can't start trying to redefine it for me as a man who identifies as male and heterosexual. Now, when you look at cinema and how they have demasculized and how they have done terrible things to black males. Now, it is very fitting, and I think Brother Armstrong would admit this, that on the thumbnail of this video, I have Chad Boseman, who played Black Panther. We have the other brother who played in the Panther movie, and we know that they neutered that character. I've been following the Black Panther since it was a comic book, and believe it or not, for all of you that love that movie, they neutered Chad Boseman's character as Black Panther. Everyone celebrated it and got all thrilled by it, but actually his character and his masculinity was neutered in that movie, as well as what they did with playing around with creative licensing in the case of the Messiah, when they showed you that depiction of Fred Hampton, that whole thing was neutering of these characters. Hollywood has a history of doing this. They did the same thing in that movie about Harriet Tubman, where they came up with a fictional character of a black man bounty hunter hunting after her. That was not true in history, never happened in history, but they went on ahead and did that shit anyway. So we're going to get into the deeper areas of why this is happening with this brother today. I appreciate you all for being here and your patience. I will shout people out from time to time, but we're going to get into this deep discussion. I need you all to listen, take notes, because you're going to hear some things that maybe you haven't heard before, or maybe it's going to be reinforced what you already believe, and he'll give us some deeper insight. So I appreciate everybody that's here. We got Miss Witty is in the house. We got man, I'm bad with names. Sharon is in the house. Red Lipstick is in the house. Everybody that's here, I thank you for being here. Maurice Miller is here. Thank you. Let's get it on. Let's get it started here. Let me bring in my guest right now. And what's going on, my brother? I try to do my best to give a great introduction for you. I appreciate you being here. We talked about this some time ago, and you got in contact with me. Thank God. And so you're here now. Let's talk about it. Let's first of all let everybody know who you are, your background in film, some of the things that you've worked in, projects that you've been involved in. I know you have a project right now called Companion that you're working on that's getting into AI and what AI means for the future for all of us here. So with that, one more clap for you. All right, my brother.
Thank you.
Peace. Let everybody know who you are.
Thank you for having me on the show. And I just want to give you a lot of praise, because a lot of other people don't want to get into the weeds. They're okay talking about, the manipulation on the surface level. But when you get into the darker details, they're like, oh, that's just too heavy for people to handle. And a lot of people dismiss it because they don't believe it, But this is something we have to embrace. And this is something I studied in film school. I went to the High School of Art and Design, studied film as a major. From there, I went to Cindy Purchase, was a film major. And then when I left there, I actually got into tech. Started working with some startup companies, and then circled back and got more into film and started producing TV commercials and things of that nature. But we're at a crisis right now. And we need to really start paying attention to what is going on in Hollywood. Now, the key thing to keep in mind is it's all connected. When you're seeing these different fringe groups, like your Black Lives Matter, like your Me Too movements, like your feminists, These things are connected, and Hollywood is the propaganda platform for these things. Many people think all these things are separate, they're not connected, just because, we tend to think in a box, compartmentalized. I say, no, you got to connect the dots and see how these things operate, because Hollywood, the way we're traditionally like conditioned to believe, it's entertainment. It's never entertainment, it's programming. So I want people to keep that in mind.
Wow. You said some things, and I'm trying to figure out how I can keep this structured, but we may just be all over the place when I get finished. You said some things that I want to piggyback on, but I just want to bring this up just to remind you. You said some things about rap music, how rap music is destroying black men and that we should get away from it as far as possible. Now, I'm old school, like yourself. I'm a Generation Xer. I grew up under the X Clan, the Public Enemy. I grew up under the Parish, who was out of Oakland, California. I grew up during a time when rap music was metaphorical. It was empowering. You had rappers doing videos on college campuses, which really motivated a lot of black folks at that time, a lot of young black people to say, hey, I want to go to a historical black college. We are far gone from those days of that type of rap music. And I remember brothers back then saying that they would never allow the music to be infiltrated from outsiders, but yet it has been infiltrated. And I agree with you that we should get away from this music because this music is destroying us. We're seeing what's happening with these rappers. They're taking them, they're killing each other, shooting each other. They got the gang element all involved in it. It's destructive right now. I want to stop right there. I said a mouthful because I want us to come back to that. But I just wanted to say that to you because it's not too many people that said it the way you said it on your live stream about these destructive areas. And am I wrong or right? The the whole music industry is just as much a part of the cinema industry because they go hand in hand together. Am I right or wrong?
Yep, it's very corrupt and it's very occult based, and we have to keep that in mind. And I know people don't like to hear this, but rap music, even though I'm from the South Bronx, it was created by the CIA. And I want you to understand this: the very beats that we use. Now, I know a lot of people, they have a hard time in believing incarnation or reincarnation, as we call it, right? But these brothers who are into rap are coming out of ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, where we used to do these ancient rituals to the goddess Heteru, because she was the goddess of the entertainment industry, the arts, music, dance. So these brothers are being reborn, and that's why they're getting into the music industry, but they're not doing what they were supposed to be doing. You see, they've already proven that if you use binaural beats and certain frequencies, it can actually stimulate different parts of your brain and make you a genius. But the rap music is operating at a very low frequency, an earthy frequency, which is causing more hostility, which is causing more anger. And they know it is dumbing you down. It's lowering your IQ, and it's a cult base. So we don't want to hear this. And the problem that we get into is that we're very right brain. So what is the right brain? Right brain is very creative, it's congregative, and they know this, they studied us, and they know that, like Caesar said, just give them food and entertainment and
bread and circuses. Yep.
Yeah, they won't care about how the government is run. So they throw these things at us because they know that we are a large consumer base and they will eat it up. And all we care about as Beyonce and 50 Cent, and we're not really studying and looking at our true history, because we could these rappers could revolutionize the world if they start putting the appropriate binaural beats, messages in their rap music. It could be a revolution because rap is worldwide. But what is the problem? You have these big mega music corporations who know for sure what the detrimental effects of that music is, and they allow it to be pumped out to watch us kill each other, to watch us eliminate each other. So, and we're so occupied with it. So many of these young brothers you see, they're on the streets, they're trying to get their rap album out there or their rap track out there because they heard that so-and-so Ice-T sold his stuff out of his car. And what they don't understand is, as you get deeper into, there's different levels in the entertainment and the music industry. You start out, you start making your way, you get a little bit famous, but when you start reaching heights, like, we'll say, Michael Jackson or Prince. Now, I want you to think about something. Michael Jackson and Prince, you could call them, as we used to call them, metrosexual. You know what I mean? And they were reason why, because their images were crafted. These men, that's not how they were. It was a crafted image because the music industry didn't want them appealing to white women and sleeping with white women. That could hurt their sales. So they crafted them as metrosexual, and they allowed them to climb the ladder. And once you get really high, you get that knock on the door from, we can call the cabal, the Illuminati. And then they start making you that offer and say, listen, do you want to reach the pinnacle of success? Then we have an offer for you. If you want to sign your soul over, then we'll help you get there. And Madonna has done that. All of them has done that. But I want you to know what we're looking at in the music industry from Madonna, Nicki Minaj, it's the same image. It's like an avatar. Madonna's image was crafted. That's not who she was. That whole thing was crafted to lure boys in, to make women to be more sexualized, and it's taken even further as we go into Cardi B. Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, Madonna, they're all the same people. They're all the same image. Just overlaid.
Okay. So, and as it relates to the music, the film industry, and I want to say peace to a lady 747, Mickey Bricks, DOD's in the house, Indian Exposed Investigation is here. Raw B has just super chatted me. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Raw B. Thank you, Raw B, for that. Really appreciate that, sister.
I wake up, flex, thumb down now, check, no drip this, tell 'em run it up, no sleep, no rest, might crash, might but first die, stretch, tell 'em run it up, I wake up, flex, thumb down now, check, no drip this, tell 'em run it up, no sleep, no rest, might crash, might but first die, stretch, tell 'em run it up, 9 out of 10 roll through my hands, I'm by my lonely. Turned to a savage, now my baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies. Thought I could trust you, I find out you tried to zone me. I'm number one up on that court, I'll make me gritty. The first one in, the last one out, can't call me lazy. Put in my hours, send the invoice and they pay me. I need 6 rings like MJ and Tom Brady.
All righty.
I wake up, flex, thumb down now, check, no drip this, tell 'em run it up. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first.
All right, Raw B, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that so much. And then we got Keeping Up with Queen. Thank you for being here. We got SHARE in the house. Natural is here. Sharon. Just a lot of great people in the chat room. Old Reliable. O'Shea is here. My man O'Shea. The brother, the O'Shea, the hobbyist is in the house. Love that brother. Just a lot of great people in the house. We got great people in the house like this. Incredible Palmer's, Beverly Palmer's in the house. Everybody, thank you. Brother Rob is in the house. He's been following me for a very long time. Who else we got here? We got The Official. Everybody is fantastic in the chat room. The Honorable Nordstrom is in the house. Thank you for being here. As it relates to Hollywood, and when you were saying how they create these avatars, these continued avatars, you're absolutely right. When you look at Foxy Brown and all these different groups that we had back in the day, people like Carly B are nothing but a carbon copy of that, just pushed to a higher degree right now, because we live in a society where there's no boundaries anymore. You could do whatever you want to do, display whatever you want to do. You can look at, it used to be a time in this country where, you didn't have certain things on television during the day. It came on very, very late at night when kids were supposed to be asleep. Now people, they don't give a damn. But I want you to touch on this point here. When you talk about the hidden hand in Hollywood and these organizations such as Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, the SJW, I heard you talk a lot about that. And your point of view is that Hollywood, the agenda is really to destroy family structures. It's like a new world order, but particularly it impacts black family structure to create a new construct. So go ahead and touch on that, brother.
Well, I think that everybody should get this book, and it should be required in film school. It's called An Empire of Their Own, How the Jews Created Hollywood. And it's an excellent book, which kind of gives you an idea how you can trace things. We have to understand that what runs Hollywood is Wall Street, the banks, you know, and see, what we're seeing right now is that Hollywood is all on the same page. All the studios are doing the exact same thing. And no one stops to think, hey, isn't that peculiar? Because the studios are corporate conglomerates that are competing against each other, but suddenly they're on the same page. What is that same page? That same page is diversity, the LGBTQ alphabet, you know, agenda. So we went from Hancock, where we were afraid to see a black man and a white woman together, to now we're seeing interracial commercials, movies about, you know, like being gay is okay, the Avengers, where everybody's talking about Captain America's butt, the men. So how did this happen? We have to understand that it starts with these think tank institutions like the Council on Foreign Relations and Tavistock. These think tank institutions map out how the world is going to be in 100 years. And then they disseminate their reports and things to the major media conglomerates, Hollywood, and then Hollywood makes movies around that to condition you so you act in accordance with that. So what we're seeing now in disguise of diversity is not really diversity. It's really all about pushing a satanic agenda and pushing the alphabet agenda. And let me make it clear, I have nothing against the LGBTQ community. I have nothing against them, but really the cabal, they don't care about them. They only care as to how they can use these groups like feminists,
Right.
and these other groups for their bidding. And then
Now
they
that's
talk
a
to the
key.
side.
That's a key point that you just made here. I'm not against anybody's sexual preference. That's their business. But what we're simply saying, and I think what you're saying, is that these particular groups, whether it be Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ community, or whether it be groups like Me Too, they're simply being used as pawns. And what they do is, and you said it, they push these groups to believe that they're fighting for equality and equal access and what have you, when in fact, these particular groups themselves are being manipulated. I'll give you a case in point. And a lot of people don't want to deal with this reality. Even within the gay community, you have black people who are gay themselves who have to deal with racism within that LGBTQ community, which is not run by black people that are gay. It's run by white gay society. Now, you know why I know this? I'm not an expert in this, but I lived in San Francisco for many years, went to college there and schools there. Guess who ran San Francisco and would step all over anything that black people wanted? It was the white gay community, particularly white gay white males who have the money and have the power. Anything that they wanted, they got it. They had control. And so this is the hidden disguise that when these groups come about and they make you think that, oh, we're for equality, they don't realize that they're also being manipulated themselves. Because if you want equality, then why is it that you have someone like Michael Sam who got drafted by the Rams and he came out and said that he dealt with more racism than he did mistreatment from black people who didn't agree with his sexuality. He called the gay community out for the racism within their own group, right? Because there's a narrative out there that black society, oh, we're so homophobic. Oh, we're so this and that. Wait a minute. We all know that all of us know that we may have someone who's gay in our family. We have people that's in our church that are gay. We listen to various artists like Luther Vandross. This whole thing about black America being this homophobic class of people, look, you can find it in all groups of people. But however, the fingers get pointed at our community while you got all this racism that goes on amongst white gay people towards black LGBTQ. Deal with that. Deal with that one, y'all.
Yeah, and I want you to understand that we have to drill down, because there are a lot of gay and lesbian people who don't support the alphabet community, because what is being pushed in mainstream media is this flamboyant gay person. It's a caricature. That my boss, who I worked with at a major advertising agency, was very masculine, but he was gay. So not everybody you meet is going to be in pink colors, but it's just embarrassing. It's a flamboyant caricature. But I also want people to make sure they check out a film by Stanley Kubrick called Eyes Wide Shut. And in that film stars Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. Tom Cruise stumbles onto an underworld that are doing satanic rituals and things of that nature. And this is what you get into that we don't want to talk about Hollywood. It's because Hollywood operates in a different way. Let's look at this, for example, in the music industry.
Okay.
These young brothers want a record deal, but you don't understand that there is the upper echelon that is, gay, bisexual. And in order to get where you want to go, you're going to have to, as a man, sleep with some people. You see, we're so conditioned to think about the casting couch and these, men abusing these women. That happens, but it also happens a lot on the reverse, because in Hollywood, there are many, many stories. And you probably heard them about Eddie Murphy and a lot of people who, were on the down low. So some of these things you gotta pay attention to. So if you want that record deal, if you want to get the upper echelon, you better think twice, because you may have to do things, and you may be introduced to people like in Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise, people that may make you afraid, And there's a whole other aspect, which is the pedophile thing that goes on there. I don't want to get too deep into that, but that's a thing. You'll see, for example, when you see certain child actors and they're not very good, and you wonder, well, how did they get in that movie? They're not a very good actor. You have to think about that. Now, there's an excellent documentary on Shirley Temple. And if you watch that documentary, you will see some hard things. And they talk about what she went through in terms of how, as a child, she was abused. And I think it was Corey Feldman talked about this too as well. So there's a lot of things that are going on beneath the surface that we're not aware of, yet everybody wants to get there. Everybody wants to make it. They want that record deal. They want that movie contract. But I just want people to think about what you're going to have to do to get there.
Wow. Now, you said something in your video. You talked about how a lot of the male characters are being feminized, particularly how they are attacking characters that were fixed in our minds growing up. Like, we knew that Obi-Wan Kenobi kicked ass. We know that Skywalker was kicking ass. We know that there were certain characters that I grew up watching that kick ass. Incredible Hulk, we know Incredible Hulk was this most powerful individual. And when we saw him in the Thanos movie, they neutered him. They made him weak and scared. And that's some bullshit, because we know that growing up, I know as a kid that Incredible Hulk was always the most powerful and the most fierce. And in the movie Thanos, they feminized him. Now, I know people may say, what are you talking about? Yes, they did. They feminized him. Even I'm going to go back to Chadwick Boseman's character in Black Panther. I know, as an avid reader of Black Panther comic books, see, a lot of people are Johnny-come-lately to the Black Panther series based on the movie. But I was following the comic book as a kid growing up. And I know, because what you said resonated with me, that his character in that movie was weakened. Matter of fact, it was the other brother, played by Michael J. Brother B, who was more, what I would call the more masculine one, the one that wanted to take it to the system, who actually, to me, he should have been cast, or that should have been how Black Panther should have been, but they neutered him. You hear what I'm saying?
White. Michael J. White. Here's the thing, and I talk about this on social media, and people like, you're crazy and all that. And the reason you can't see this, and there are two things going on. There is the destruction of the legacy characters, and there is the engineering of the current characters. And let me give you an example, right? And it happens so subtly that you don't even notice it. So you have a character like Black Panther, right? So we had Chadwick Boseman, they cast him in the role, and all of a sudden, they focus more on the Dora Milaje, these bald-headed women who are protectors and masculine, but it's supposed to be about Black Panther, not the Dora Milaje, right? But also, his sister is the brainiac. Now, Black Panther is supposed to be smarter than Tony Stark, the smartest person on the planet, but his sister now takes all the intelligence. And also, Chadwick Boseman, great actor, not the masculine idea of Black Panther. Look at the HBO series. That's a good, the animated series. That was a good reflection of Black Panther. Very baritone in the voice, deep voice, masculine, assertive, aggressive. And then we get this character and everybody's saying, oh, well, he's calm, he's passive, he's intellectual, he's regal. No, he's effeminate. That's what it is. And you're not seeing it. Let's take another character, Blade, right? So why did they... I'm going to say this, right? I'm going to be nice because I'm not going to, I don't want to say anything about Hollywood actors, but Mahershala Ali is a great actor. Okay.
Yes, he is.
He's not the most masculine actor, but he has no martial arts experience. Why would they cast him as Blade? Because they want to emasculate these superhero characters. And you just think, oh, they picked this brother, but look at his record. What has Mahershala Ali done? A lot of films that are about being gay, right? So it's a setup. This is the way I'm looking at it. It's a setup because eventually, somewhere down the road, they're going to do what they did with Superman. Oh, Black Panther is gay. Oh, Blade is bisexual. Look what they did with Lando Calrissian. Transsexual or whatever he was, pansexual. Like, what is that?
Right.
And that's just, they throw those things out there in the press as a feeler to see how the people react to that.
Right. But I have a problem with it because they're not staying true to the character.
Exactly.
I can understand. Look, I can understand if these characters were made to be that way in the beginning. But I understand during that time, a lot of this stuff was not out there, right? It was taboo to do that, right? And now we're living in a society that's become more open to people's different lifestyles. I get it. But I have a problem when you take characters who that's not what they were. And when I go to that movie to see them, that's what I'm expecting. You know what they're doing here, brother? They're dividing generations. Our generation go to the theater and we say, this is not the right depiction. The younger generation goes to the theater and they're being programmed to see those characters that we grew up with as, oh, okay, that's what they were. And that's not what they were. But see, they
don't care about us.
Right. They don't care about us.
Generation. They're targeting the children.
They're targeting the new generation because they know that they figure that they figure that we are at our end. We'll fade away into dust eventually. So let's program the kids. Let's get them on this page. And this goes back to what you were talking about how this is attacking families and our understanding of what family structure is. My thing is that Hollywood, in my opinion, Brother Armstrong, in a slight way, has always done things to destroy family. Look at how they portrayed black family, where you had a black woman single with a bunch of kids, no father. Who was that? Diane. What's that famous show? She was.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Oh God, I'm having a brain fart here.
Yeah, she's a single mother.
Diane Carroll, is it Diane?
Yeah,
and she, remember, her show was a breakthrough show on television, but it was a show where there was no father, but she had a bunch of kids, and they were promoting the single black mother. Which, by the way, we just had Father's Day. I have no disrespect to black women out here who are raising sons or daughters on their own. Personally, we should be, in my opinion, we should be promoting intact families and not single mother culture. Just my opinion. I don't think we should be promoting that because that's not how it's supposed to be. But we know there are circumstances why these things do happen. But in that show, they were promoting that.
Yeah. Well, going back to this again, one of the things I had with the Star Wars community, because when
I'm sorry.
George Lucas had his when he sold the rights to his IP, Star Wars, to Disney. It was run, Lucasfilm was run by Kathleen Kennedy. And one of the first things she did was she destroyed and killed off Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, because they were very masculine characters. So she can introduce what she called was the Force is feminine, which is a feminist agenda, right? So those characters were quickly killed off. But what people didn't understand was that Kathleen Kennedy wasn't initiating this herself. This was coming down from a higher authority, the cabal. And I want to just say this outright, that many people supported Black Lives Matter, but from the inception, the very beginning, I knew they were fraudulent. You could read on their website where they talked about they were for destroying the nuclear family, that they were against patriarchy. We should have saw that on their website, which was plain English, and we should have not supported them because of that. But many of us didn't read, didn't do our research, and gave all this money to Black Lives Matter. And what did they do? They took the billions of dollars that they raised and dispensed it to the LGBTQ community. They used the deaths of Black men to actually raise this money and then give it to the alphabet community, who only represents 2% of the population, where Black men and women represent 14% of the population. Make that make sense?
Well, it doesn't make sense, but this is the thing. Going back to what you said about them being a front group, I saw the website. I've actually did videos on this channel about it, and there was very little said about Black men. They made their money off the backs and the death of Black men. And then they turned their organization into something else. Black people, in my opinion, I do think that Black lives do matter, but I don't think we should be supporting this organization because their mission statement changed on us and they became and morphed into something else. And then when you go and do your background and you say, who's financing this? Was this movement organic? And when you find out that George Soros was financing this, every Black person should have ran the hell away from Black Lives Matter, the organization, which we're now seeing that they're purchasing mansions and they're purchasing all sorts of things. And you've got Michael Brown's father and other groups in Ferguson that are saying we haven't seen a dime of money to our chapters. Or in the chapters in Washington, D.C. said we haven't saw a dime of money.
But what happened? You remember Clark Kent, the old Clark Kent, Superman, Lois Lane, investigative reporters at Metropolis?
Yes.
What happened to our news media? Because they should have been investigating Black Lives Matter. They should have been like getting these stories out way long before the girls bought mansions and bought houses with the money. You know,
what's going on, Brother Yapo?
News media
and Brother Malik and Thomas. Look, my brother, let's be honest. We don't really have any real Black media in the mainstream. I would go as far to say that what some of us are doing on social media, such as myself and others, like yourself and others, and what you're doing in film, that we are the real Black media. Because we're talking about issues that they're not talking about. You had the Do Nothing Black Caucus and many other so-called Black media outlets who have not examined what we're talking about right now, not in a deep analysis way. And they are actually propping the whole Black Lives Matter movement, right? They are the organization without doing proper examination themselves. Now, I know you said on your video that Spike Lee had the BLM cap and that you love him. He's done great movies and what have you. But I got to say this. I love Spike Lee, but come on now, brother. Anything you get involved with, you should read the fine print before you. Anything you get involved with, you should read the fine print and say, okay, I don't agree with that. And you can't tell me, and maybe he's just too busy doing movies or whatever other productions, that Spike Lee or anyone like him hasn't took the time to look at the damn website. And maybe they haven't. But if I could look at that website and you could look at that website, they certainly could be looking at the website.
Well, see, we get on board something because we are, again, right-brain emotional creatures, and we're moved by emotion and symbolism. And the ruling elite know that. They give us symbolism over substance, and we fall for it over all the time, you know? And
Yes.
I want to touch on this before I forget this. So,
Yeah, I don't want you to forget anything. I know we're all over the place, different subjects, but it's okay. It's organic, folks.
Yeah. Going back to what we were talking about with Obi-Wan Kenobi and all these characters, which they are getting rid of or emasculating, they're using these platforms as a bait and switch. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, you watch Obi-Wan Kenobi, and what you get? You get Moses Ingram as Reva. What they want to do is start to use those platforms to introduce their so-called diversity agenda, because they know they can't introduce those characters on a movie of their own because they won't sell. So they have to use established IP and have them ride on the backs of that, and then launch those characters like Captain Marvel, you know, which was really a black woman, but they changed it to a white woman. Well, it was a black woman that became a white man, and they changed it to a white woman. And so
Wait a minute. Wait. This is breaking news. Oh my God. Oh no. Are you telling me information is power, ladies and gentlemen?
Information is power.
Now, maybe I missed this somewhere. You're telling me that character was supposed to be a black woman.
Yes.
Then they morphed her into a man.
Right.
Then they said, fuck it, we're going to go to a white woman, which is what they probably wanted in the first place. Wait. Oh my God. I mean, folks, you got to laugh to keep from crying. Unbelievable.
And no one.
I'm sorry, I digress here, but continue, brother. I couldn't believe what I just heard out of your mouth.
Yeah, and we didn't protest. We didn't say anything. But again, going back to this is their goal, right? Like movies, like we know that the first Star Wars trilogy was a huge failure, right? We know that Star Trek, the new Star Trek Discovery is a failure. It's not making any money, but they're still making episodes. But why? The new Star Trek is a failure. It's not making any money. The ratings are low. What they want to do is they want to fulfill their contract obligations to get these things into syndication. What happens in syndication? These things are now go on all channels worldwide, and the propaganda becomes global. That's what they're doing. And they know that those shows aren't making any money. And every time the show comes out, they're pushing a gay character or a binary character or non-binary character. And it's all, and you're only appealing to 2% of the population. Why are you making content for only 2% of the population? Well, because that's a form of, like we're talking about, mind control and programming. They're conditioning the young children for the future. Again, disclaimer, I have nothing against the gay community, but you have to know when you're being pimped and used. And that's what Hollywood, that's what the cabal is doing. Now, I want to point out something very interesting that recently happened. If you are a fan of Buzz Lightyear and those toy movies, they had this new one come out called Lightyear, right? Which was box office failure, and it was banned in 14 countries. Why? Because it had a same-sex kiss, a marriage between these two same-sex couples, and they adopted a child.
Yes.
Now, and Buzz Lightyear was seen as the enemy because he was in the way of preventing their union. So they made this white male character the enemy because he was preventing them from coming together. This is what Disney put out. On the same thing, we have Pinocchio. What is Pinocchio introducing? Are they introducing a beautiful black woman who is the fairy godmother or whatever? They're introducing a bald black woman who is representative of the alphabet community. And they have gotten so many downvotes on the trailer that Disney turned off the comments. But it's all about the programming. They don't care. They want to pump out the content for the specific purpose so this thing can go global and program the young. That's what they're targeting. They don't care about you. I grew up with Star Wars. I went to the theater and saw Star Wars, and I was blown away. They don't care about me. They care about the new generation that they can program. That's what it's all about. How else do you explain them keep producing content that doesn't make any money, has low ratings, like Star Trek Discovery, but still an episode, it keeps getting renewed. Here's the most dangerous and sinister thing that's happening. They have gotten involved in the gender war. So what is Hollywood doing? Hollywood is hiring black women over black men. And the black men that Hollywood is hiring are gay or transgender black men. And they're propping these black women up so that they could write stories, as in the case of what you were talking about, the bounty hunter, that the fictional character in the Harriet Tubman movie that was out to kill Harriet Tubman. That's a fictional character. That wasn't historical. They created that. But who was behind it? You see, they're using these proxies, these black women as proxies to do their bidding. So you can't attack the white establishment. They go, oh no, we've got a black woman writing these things. You know, remember Nate Parker, who did Birth of a Nation? An excellent film. Who came against him, the black feminists, to destroy that film? Because they brought up some old controversy of him raping a white woman, where he went before all white jury and was acquitted. But they that's
actually facts. That did happen to Nate Parker. That is actually, I have to be honest. Now, let me just say this to you though, brother. Wouldn't you say that when it comes to black women and black men, that there's very little representation of black people in Hollywood in major roles overall? However, I do agree with you that there are, right, go ahead. There are a lot more black women that are getting some opportunities, such in the case of the young lady in the Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I know I heard her say on social media that she was dealing with racism, but I want you to get to the part that I thought was very deep in your video, that some of these Hollywood agencies create fake social media to create a fake narrative to make that individual the victim so that you will rally around that character and that particular person. Maybe I'm wrong or right here. Did you say something of that nature about that particular incident?
Yeah, so just for those who don't know, there was a controversy over the actress Moses Ingram, who was playing the role of Reva. And they came out even before the show aired that she was subject to Twitter racist attacks, which was total bogus. See, this is PR that was put out by Disney themselves. And the reason was because Disney was doing a bait and switch. There are Star Wars fans that are racist. I grew up with Star Wars fans.
Oh, yeah, they are.
But this was not what they were upset about. What the Star Wars fans were upset about was the bait and switch. This was supposed to be an Obi-Wan show. It turned out to be the Little Princess Leia and the Reva show. So you didn't get a lot of Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker. You got Reva and her side story, which also cheated her character, because again, they're using that as a platform to launch that character into his own series. But when you gave her series from the beginning. But they're too scared because they don't invest the money in something like that, which could fail. So the problem was that Moses Ingram wasn't right for that role. She was terrible. She couldn't act. She just wasn't right for it. Not every actor, because they can do one role, can do another role. She wasn't good for that role. And Star Wars fans saw it and they protested, saying, here you have this character that shouldn't even be there in the first place, that can't act. The actress can't act. So Star Wars knew that, and they knew they were going to launch her with her own series. So to prevent any type of pushback, they created this fictional narrative of the Star Wars fans are racist, which was totally bogus.
Well, let me just say this though. It's been my personal experience when you look at some of these, whether it be social media platforms or even people who have YouTube channels, who are what we call nerds that get into Star Wars and all this sort of stuff. A lot of these groups do have an element of white supremacy in them. Yep. There is an element there. But where I do agree with you is the fact that, and I think let everybody in the chat room definitely hear this again. A lot of these Hollywood, these agencies, they create fake social media accounts and put out fake information to do what? Once again, Brother Armstrong, to do what? To manipulate us, right?
And we fall for it every time. I'll give you an example. And usually it has some kernel of truth, like they say,
a kernel of truth. Okay.
The most educated. Yeah. that black women are the most educated. Black women have the most businesses. Well, when you look at it, yeah, black women do register businesses, but most of their businesses fail. Yeah, black women, they do have a high registration in colleges, but women of most racial groups, even white women, have high registration in college. So they do this to create this gender war, to fuel the gender war. And they also do it to make it seem like black men are failing and that black women can do better, you know? So that pushes them toward, hey, you know what? Your friend is the white guy. He's the white man. You should work with him, because they want to dilute the race, because they know their population is dwindling. They know that. That's why you're seeing this increase in commercials, interracial couples. Where did this come from all of a sudden? You know?
Now, what I want to say here, because you said something that was very important. The narrative is that more black women have college degrees or getting in college than black men. And that fuels the race war, because when you get into a discussion where things get heated between black men and black women on panels, you see it here on YouTube, then you will have some sisters that will say, well, we're doing better than you all because we're in college and we're getting more degrees than you all. And that is what they exactly wanted us to do, ladies and gentlemen, to divide and conquer. Now, check this out, brother Armstrong. I did a video on this channel where I broke through the bullshit. There is actually, and has now increased even now, there is now more black men that are getting college degrees, that are moved into the middle and upper middle class, that are doing well for themselves. We still got problems, that are getting college degrees than what we think are in prison. We've been taught and manipulated to think that all black men are in prison, that we're all downtrodden and unprofessional, because we take the minimum of us who are not doing well and we maximize that, and then we minimize the maximum. So that whole thing, when we get into these gender conversations where sisters will say, well, we more educated than y'all. No. Black men are getting education, and more so than being in prison. And education don't always have to be a dumb college degree. It could be skilled trades. But electrician, plumbing, they play damn well. There's a lot of things that we're doing, but it doesn't get put out there. And then when we look at the movies in Hollywood that portray us as what? Dusty and musty and crusty, it reinforces it.
Well, you have to also understand, and you need to look at this. They have played a real con game on black women. So let's look at it this way. Black women are getting degrees in subjects that don't pay well, psychology, sociology, while black men are getting degrees in studying STEM, which is paying the most, and it's more difficult to get degrees in those areas. You know, there was a video that went viral about a young black man who was a physicist, a nuclear physicist, and the black woman didn't choose him. She didn't choose him. You know, people were saying, well, she should have chosen a nuclear physicist, but she said he had no swag and all that. But so what good is it if black women are getting degrees in these fields that don't pay well? And what it's also doing is the colleges are upselling black women. They're telling them, why don't you go for your master's, then go for your PhD. So black women are getting PhDs, not getting married. So they're sacrificing that, and they're getting in tons and tons of debt. And they're coming out with a PhD in sociology. How do you find work in that? They have coming out with a PhD in education. How do you find work in that? And if you find work, you're not going to get paid much.
Right, because you have to get advanced degrees to at least teach at the college level. Well, I would say this, there are some black women out there that have those kind of degrees that are making a success for themselves, and there's some that are struggling. But overall, see, this is the reason why this is the trick bag, ladies and gentlemen, because overall, black people as a group, overall, we do not have generational wealth. We do not have enough hard, cold wealth. So we really are in no position to be arguing back and forth with one another. And this goes to my other point. You said this in your video. Why are we partying? What are we having a party about? What are we finger popping about? We got too many damn problems to be sitting up here talking about, let's have a party.
Yeah, the thing is, we know that there's a racial wealth gap, right? And unfortunately, because of Hollywood crafts a narrative in mainstream, people, and that narrative is a depiction of what you should be and what you should become in life. And the narrative is very, very thin. It's you're going to be a rapper or you're going to be in sports. And they saturate the media waves with these images, and all we think about is becoming good in basketball, good in football, or becoming a rapper. We don't see the myriad of other fields that we can get into. Let me explain something. What I got into when I left film school, a young woman, she was a Russian woman, hired me to be a project manager for a startup company. I didn't even know what a tech project manager was. And I started, and I was really good in there. And I started working in that tech world. And before you know it, I was making more than 6 figures in the first year, right? Then I moved to Las Vegas, worked with a major ad agency, was directing commercials, and working with this billionaire to build his hotel and casino to make his movie. To make his TV commercial. Here I am going over storyboards with a billionaire. How else can you make connections like that? That is awesome. But the narrative says that we don't achieve those things. We don't want to become a nuclear physicist and stuff like that. But we also have to understand one thing. You know, this whole idea of Jay-Z coming out with these little programs, him and Beyonce, we need to stop paying attention to these guys. They're not for our benefit. They are working with the cabal. They don't have your best interests at heart. They're into occultism. So I want you to understand that, all right? We need to start exploring other business options, going in there and taking them over. The Italians got into construction. You know, we know that other racial groups got into the Irish into shipping. We need to get into a field and dominate it, whether it be fiber optic cables, AI. We need to get into these things and dominate them. And somebody said this once, and it may be true, that we may not have the guts for capitalism. Because I told this to somebody, Jada Pinkett said that when Will didn't get an Oscar that year in the Oscars, we need to start our own movie studios. And she was so right. But I want you to understand that Hollywood is not going to sit back and let you do that. They're going to fight you tooth and nail. And you got to have people point and they say, well, Bill Gates is a messed up person. Elon Musk is messed up. Of course they are. Because if you're going to be in that $1 billion club and compete, you're going to have to do underhanded things. There's a great line from this movie where what's this comedian's name? I forgot his comedian. He used to say, I get no respect. I get no respect. Rodney Dangerfield. School. He's sitting at this prestigious university and they're teaching about finance. And he interrupts the professor and he says to the professor, you're teaching nothing but theory. He says, well, how would you do it? He says, well, you're going to build a building? Okay, what's your product? He says, it's a widget. A widget? Who's going to finance a widget? What is a widget? And he says, if you're going to build that building, the Italian mob is going to want to have a talk with you. So you better have some money to pay him off. So in other words, he was talking about the real deal of how the world works. You don't just get there and think, I'm going to live, have fun and all that. You're going to be coerced with, first thing, drugs, money, women. A CIA operative once said that the way they get people is they get them either through drugs, men or women. So,
well,
go ahead.
Perfect example is the mayor of Washington, D.C., Marion Barry. They got him with drugs and women because he was too effective of a mayor who was doing a lot for the black community despite any of his shortcomings. And they had to get him out of the box. So you're absolutely right. This is how this works. Exactly. I'm 100% with you on that. Let's talk about your movie that you're trying to finance and that you're working on right now called Companion. Let everybody know what that movie is about and how it relates to what we need to be concerned about going forward in the future.
Okay. So thank you for bridging that in. We are in a very, very tricky situation because we're being introduced to this technology and it seems to be making our life simpler. But what really is going on is something more insidious. It's the aggregation of information. They're collecting information on us because they want to put together a master AI, an artificial intelligence. If we go back to the old movie, the 80s movie Tron, in that movie they had, which was a breakthrough movie at the time because they used very primitive like computer effects, but they had what they call the MCP, the Master Control Program, which controlled the world of Tron. They want to do that now. They want, so you see these things about cars that can drive themselves, you know, Siri, all of these things. This is just the test pilot. They want to create a master AI program that's going to control you. Now, how is this going to be introduced? Well, Google just announced that their AI, Lambda, is sentient. So that means that it's autonomous. It thinks, it feels. Very interesting thing about that is that when they were querying this, it had like a fear of being turned off, so a fear of death. And it also was saying some racist things, which I don't know how that happens, you know, unless you're programming that into it, you know what I mean? But the danger, here's the danger. They're moving toward plugging us into this AI. And they're going to make it seem like, oh, well, if you get this unit that you put into your temple or your brain, you'll be able to surf the web. You'll be able to go on the metaverse, you know? But what it's really doing is aggravating, collecting information on you. And it's not only is it uploading information, it's going to be downloading information and controlling you. And that's the dangerous part about this AI. Now, in my film, it's called Companion. And what I do is the film is about this young man named Adam, who is working at a young startup company. And he's creating this revolutionary AI that's going to change the world for good. And he gets stuck, and he hires a young woman. Her name is Evelyn. She comes aboard, and she's a programmer from MIT. And they work together, and they perfect the AI. And it's great. However, Adam has some problems where he was abused as a child. So these things cause problems with him and his relationships. And along the way, Evelyn helps him to deal with those problems. And the AI, for the first time, we're going to introduce is like an avatar. It's going to be the goddess, the Egyptian goddess Ma'at. So along the way, Evelyn falls in love with Adam. But we find out that Adam is also an AI. So there's a big surprise at the end. So we're looking at shooting this summer, and we want the support of everybody out there. So if you go to my site, it's called Companion the Movie. We're looking for people who can support it through GoFundMe campaign. And if you're interested in investing, you can put your name down. We're having an exclusive investors meeting. We're going to talk about the return. We're going to talk about the studio we got set up in, we're shooting in New York. So it's going to be a lot of great things. And this is what we as a people should be doing. All of these things that we're talking about today in terms of the manipulation would be null and void if we had created our own Hollywood. Listen. India has Bollywood. Now, Nigeria has Nollywood. The Nigerians are kicking butt when it comes to film. They're very poor over there, but they're incorporating special effects, martial arts, great cinematography. They're blowing us away. And I was talking to a fellow filmmaker. His name is Kevin Bofinger. He's an awesome guy. He just made a zombie movie. It was fantastic. And I said that our independent filmmakers are great, but we're caught up in these stories about relationships. And Hollywood doesn't need that from us right now. We need to have more of a diverse outlook. We need to be creating. We're so sick of seeing the Egyptians portrayed as white. Well, why don't we start making our own movies like that? Why don't all of these pastors, these pimp pastors of these mega churches, pull their money together and make their own 10 Commandments with all black characters? Why is that?
We do have what's that, Bishop T.J. Jakes, who has dabbled in movie making. But I think you're right. A lot of our black movies in America seem to be grounded in this urban tragedy. I'm just keeping it real with y'all. And it seems to be laden in dysfunctional family relations and a dysfunction between black men and black women. Tyler Perry, for all of you that love Tyler Perry, he traffics in that type of filmmaking where there's a dysfunctional black woman there's a black man in the movie that's done her wrong. Then there's that one hero black man that saves the day. It's all this dysfunction. And it's funny that you bring this up because I have Netflix. I know people are getting rid of Netflix, but one of the things I like about Netflix is I like a lot of these movies that are coming out of Nigeria. And I find these Bollywood movies more entertaining than even the black movies or the movies we have here in America. The reason why, folks, is because their movies cover everything. There's so much more depth to their movies and the particular subject matter that they cover. It's not a one-trick pony. What we have here in America is, from our black filmmakers and our movies in general, some of them, I'm not going to indict all of them, is this one cookie cutter type of movie. I'm sick. I mean, as much as I'm gonna be honest. Yes, I watched The Empire for a minute. I liked it for a minute, and then I had to get away from it because it was pushing a lot of stuff that I didn't agree with. Then I used to watch The Power. Yes, I watched The Power. Yeah, I like the grittiness of The Power. But the fact of the matter is, when we really think about it, brother Armstrong, do black people really need another street crime movie? Do we need another hustling and another hustle and flow, another corrupt hustle and corrupt movie company or corrupt show where it's a corrupt music industry and all this and the drugs and do we really need another show like that?
Well, see, the problem with us, and these people have done studies on us up the yin yang. You know,
oh my God.
I used to work for, I'm not going to get into this. I used to work for a tobacco company, and they have data on us you would not believe. They know a lot about us.
Oh my God.
You know,
this brother, wait a minute now. This brother said, ladies and gentlemen, this brother said that they have data on us. God damn. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling y'all, go ahead, Brother Armstrong.
And one of the things they know about us is that we're not early adopters, and we have a pattern, meaning that we do everything that's safe. And when somebody comes and they break the mold, if they're successful, then we all jump on that bandwagon. Just look at Kevin Samuels, for example. When he became successful, how many people converted their channel to dating channels and relationship channels? You know, so we're not early adapters. That's the problem with us. We're not innovators, and we need to be that way. You know, we're very, very myopic in our viewpoints. I did hypnosis, hypnotherapy. And people would look at me, brothers and sisters look at me and go, what's hypnotherapy? I'm like, oh my God, we really have got to broaden our minds a bit. But I want to talk about just quickly two men, Lloyd Kaufman.
Okay.
One is Charles Band. You can get these.
Let me enlarge your screen.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go. Let's do it again.
Okay. Lloyd Kaufman, he runs Trauma Studios, and Charles Band, he used to run Full Moon. These are two men that came up from obscurity and started their own studios. Lloyd Kaufman financed my first feature film called Bug. He took me into his studio and he taught me how to make movies. And he taught me, like, look, you've got to have marketing. You've got to have like a little bit of edginess to you or you'll never get known. So I came out with a film all about that took place in the future, women fighting a war. I called it War is a Bitch, and it won awards. And the title there would cause a little controversy. People were like, what's War is a Bitch? We got written up in the New York Daily News. People were like really like fascinated by it. So we can break out of that drama dysfunctionalism. And one of the things about Tyler Perry, people want to know how successful he is. Tyler Perry's successful for a reason, and you should know why. I'm not going to say that, but he's successful for a reason because I talked about how you get up the top of that pyramid. You know what I mean?
Right. Don't get me wrong. He has definitely traveled the hard side of the mountain. He was doing plays. He started off at the very bottom and worked himself up. Don't get me wrong. And of course, he has his own studio in Atlanta, Georgia. But you know what? That's a good segment. Let me ask you something. How is Tyler Perry able to have the success that he's having with having his own studio in Atlanta? And I know that Atlanta is becoming it's becoming like the Black Hollywood, right? How is he able to get away with what he's doing without Hollywood in Los Angeles, California saying we got to neutralize this Negro? Is it because he's acquiescing? He's playing into the stereotypes, as I had spoken. Is he playing into what Hollywood wants to see black people doing anyway? Is that how he's able to do what he's able to do without them touching him? Because you would think that they would be like, we got to get rid of this Tyler Perry. We got to discredit him.
If he tried to buy NBC, I guarantee you he wouldn't be around.
So if he tried to get a little bit too bigger for his britches, you would say.
If he tried to venture out of his niche, which his niche and his narrative fit with what the white establishment wants. So he deals with the colorism, he deals with the mammies, and they're all right with that, you know. So, and I want to just make it clear, Tyler Perry's a pioneer. He was videotaping his stage plays and selling them. That was something not many people thought to do, and that's really what launched him. But his longevity is due to, you ever heard of the music industry, how people want to own their masters? That's where the money is. Tyler Perry has contracts with these companies that he owns. He owns the rights to his sitcoms, his movies. So that rakes in a lot of money, and that affords him to open up these studios. Usually when you're a filmmaker, your first 2 deals are pretty bad, you know what I mean, until you get creative license. And that's very, very unusual in Hollywood. Once you sell a screenplay, they tear it apart and it's not yours property anymore. But he was able to maintain creative control because he started out as an indie, and then he started to move up. And again, his niche, his narrative conformed to the mainstream white established order. So that's how he's able to stay there. But I guarantee you, if he produced the 10 Commandments, that'd be it.
So my theory is correct that he sort of is staying on par with what Hollywood would produce themselves when it comes to a black movie. He's not kind of going outside of that bar.
He's not a threat.
He's not a threat. Okay, now let's go over to your boy, your main man, Spike Lee. We know that Spike Lee had so many doors slammed in his face when he was trying to produce the movie Malcolm X. It wasn't until this is what we've been told, because we never know what the real truth is. Sometimes we were told that it was Michael Jordan and Oprah who financed his film, because Hollywood was scared of the Malcolm X film. They wanted to stay away from it. And I think Spike Lee told a story that when they saw a sample of his movie, they weren't thrilled with the opening part of his movie where he had the flag burning. They had a big problem with that. How many of y'all remember that? Spike Lee came out and said that in the interviews, that was a big reason why they didn't want to finance the movie, amongst other things.
So what Spike Lee did, he was brilliant in what he was trying to do. He knew when he started the movie that he didn't have enough money to finish it. So when you're in Hollywood and you get a deal, right? They give you what they call a completion bond. A completion bond is like insurance. So if you run over budget, the completion bond company comes in and they finish the film for you. They give you the money to finish the film. So what he was banking on was that he knew he would run out of money, but he thought the completion bond company would give him the money to finish the film, and they said, no, we're going to take this film from you. And so that's when he went to Oprah, Bill Cosby, and to get the completion funds for it, so that the completion bond company wouldn't take the film from him. But if you notice that's the great thing about every film Spike Lee makes, I say I won't go see, and I end up seeing it and I love it. But he deals in very controversial subjects, and Spike Lee always spoke his mind. So he ventured outside the narrative, you know what I mean? So that was something, and he was a good marketer too. He really took a page from Oscar Michel, if you recall him.
Oh yeah, he's the one of the godfathers of it.
Yeah, exactly. So
he's one of the. Well, let me ask you this question, and what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to repeat again, as I put this in the chat room again, about your film companion. I'm going to put the GoFundMe in there again, as well as your, and everybody, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, his GoFundMe is in the description of this video. His YouTube channel is in the description of this video. What I want you to do as you remind people about The Companion and what that movie is about, for people that's coming in late, I want you also after that to go into letting people know what it takes to become a filmmaker if they have a desire. Because in today's time where we have YouTube and internet and we have all these things at our disposal, you can become a filmmaker a hell of a lot easier than people could in decades past. Is that correct or wrong?
Yeah, it's funny. I went to I went to a seminar, and it was all distributors there. And I spoke to one distributor, and I asked them, "What are you looking for?" And they said, "Ron, we need black horror films." And unfortunately, at that time, there were none. There was all this hood. We went through the phase of first we had the Boys in the Hood, and then we had speaking of that, I got to mention this. John Singleton invited me to a screening of Boys in the Hood, and him and I sat in the theater together. And we're talking while we're watching his film. I said, what do I need to do? And he was like, you just got to go out there and do it on whatever level you can do it,
Yes.
And I was so sad to hear the brother pass because he was a good brother. He was real. He was talking about some real things. But we started out with the hood movies. Then we went to the dysfunctional relationship thing. And we've got to get out of that. These distributors, they want content. They do want content, but they don't want the same cookie cutter stuff that they see. And I see every time that we come out with these dysfunctional love comedies or whatever, they're not going to sell, So
they're not going to sell.
Yeah, because there's too much out there. So I want us to start venturing off and start doing other things. Companion is a sci-fi movie. It is groundbreaking. We have some of the top special effects. We have some of the top CGI people, and we're going to do things you're not going to see in the indie film. And we just need your support. So if you're interested in donating, if you want to be an investor, being an investor, you can get points from the film, and points come from the theater box office, cable, overseas distribution. So it's perpetual. You'll get money keep coming in. So the minimum is $500 to invest in the film. It's called Companion, sci-fi. It's talking about the future of AI. And one of the things that I got an award for in my last film was War is a Bitch. I wanted to get an award for Best Director, and I ended up getting an award for Best Screenplay. And I was so upset. I'm like, what? They said, but you're a good technical writer. The jargon you used in that film was awesome. And I kind of included that in this film, Companion, about AI. And it's about the perfect companion. It's about an AI that reads your thoughts, and it heals. If you're suffering from past childhood trauma, this companion heals you. It helps you deal with those issues. There's this really good human element to it. And I had somebody read the script recently, and they called it a very sexy script because we do deal a lot with relationships and things like that. But invest in the film, donate to the GoFundMe. We appreciate it. We're having an exclusive investors meeting coming up where you'll be given the inside scoop on what's going on. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Hollywood and how you could break into that. But going back to what you were saying, when I went to film school, man, we were actually shooting on film. Right now they have digital camera equipment. I turned when I got my film financed by Trauma Studios, I turned my mother's living room into an editing studio. There was film everywhere. Those were back in the days where you actually had reels, you know? And you know where the George Lucas got the name R2-D2 from? He got from reel to dialogue to R2-D2. So, and here's some of the things. This is old school back in the day by William Martell. I don't know if you can see it, William Martell. He writes excellent books on screenwriting, and this stuff really helped me to just really know what Hollywood is looking for. So if you get an opportunity, you can go to his website, check it out, and get some of his books. They're awesome. But I'm telling you something. You guys are in a favorable position because the digital revolution makes it so easy. I see filmmakers out there now. They're like Robert Rodriguez. They're one-man armies. They're doing sound, they're doing camera, all themselves, and they're making it happen. So there's no excuse for us to come out there and produce quality content. And the problem that we have right now, I'm gonna tell you what the problem we have right now. The problem we have right now is not producing movies. We're doing that. We're doing great with that. The problem is we need to be better script writers, better storytellers. You know how? Let me tell you something. You know how George Lucas? By the way, George Lucas is an insider. He knows all about the Illuminati and all that because Star Wars is based on the whole idea of the Empire taking over, the Illuminati taking over, the Order 666 to kill off the Jedi. They killed off all the shaman, the Kemetic priest. So George Lucas is taking a page from that, but also George Lucas is using Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey as the archetypes for his characters. And the archetypes are contained within the collective consciousness of all humanity. There's the mother archetype, there's the father archetype. So we talk about this whole thing about there's 125 genders. That's BS, because these archetypes are programmed into the collective consciousness from the very beginning of time, since primitive man, woman. You're not going to get rid of those archetypes.
No, you can't. Well, they're trying to do everything they can to erode it now.
Yeah.
But I want to say this. A lot of people in the chat room, if you're listening, what Brother Armstrong is saying is very deep. Most of us, when we were younger, we went to see Star Wars, and we simply saw it as, oh, this is a sci-fi movie. But what Lucas did is he was displaying to you the hierarchy structure. That movie, Star Wars, has just as much to do with the society that we're living in today. It's all subliminal. He's using characters that we can identify with today. We can identify in our own family structures. The whole thing about a belief in force is the same as people who say, I'm having a belief, or I have a belief in God, believing that force is energy all around us, right? In the trees, in the birds. So when you listen to people like the puppet character of Yoda, I got to be honest with you, Brother Armstrong. I had a uncle back east in Baltimore. He passed away. He was my great uncle. He's my mother's great uncle. He lived for a long time, and he passed away some years back. And listening to him talk, he was Geishy. He sounded like the best thing I can compare to when I went to go talk to him and listen to his wisdom. It was like listening to Yoda.
Yep.
The things that he said had these certain parables. When they're making these movies, Brother Armstrong, don't they be stealing stuff from our culture? Because this shit be coming out of our culture.
Well, you have to think about it. Our culture is thousands and thousands of years old. We are the first storytellers. So what they're talking
Griots,
about
oral
now,
tradition, yeah.
Yeah, they're just this plagiarizing our old the story of Cain and Abel. All of that comes out of the Kemetic story of Sar and Set. You know, Haru fighting his evil uncle Set. These stories, the Lion King. Look at those stories. Now, some of this also we have to examine. Comes out of white people's fears, because if you go back to the original King Kong, what's that about? The white man's fear that the white woman will fall in love with the black man. The black man symbolized by King Kong, the epitome of masculinity. You know, birth of a nation. They're afraid that the black man is going to take the white woman, so they create this propaganda in Birth of a Nation. And other films like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Thing, Them, those are films that talk about the fear of the white culture being taken over by people of color. So
okay,
that's all being like put into film and through their subconscious representation of these characters. But going back to the archetypes,
okay,
this is why you love these films, because they contain these archetypes that you identify with. You know what I mean? These are programs so that when you see a good movie, you don't know why you like it, but you know you like it. And that's what's being a master storyteller, is to actually take a story that contains those archetypes and put it in such a way, such as the hero's journey, so that everyone can identify with it, that it's ubiquitous. And that's how you communicate to a massive audience. It's not about color and skin tone, but it's about those archetypes. And George Lucas is a master storyteller. All
right, let me do this. I got to shout a few people out because I had two people who gave me a super chat earlier today. That were here. Glorion Murray, if you're still around, love you, peace to you. Gave me a $20 super chat. Thank you. I'm not going to go into the super chat music because I just don't want to cut into the flow that we have going right now. We've got Larry Anything Goes LLC gave me a $10 super chat. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for the super chat.
And talk about somebody that knows how to write. I've got to connect you with Brother Yalpo. Yalpo's been following my channel since the very beginning. He has a book that's coming out. He has a website. I'm going to be bringing him on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. You see Yalpo in the chat room. This brother is deep. He's someone that I need to connect with you, Brother Armstrong, because he knows how to write stories, and he's very creative himself. Let me say peace to a lady 747 who's in the house here. Thank you for being here. We've got Natro for being here. Thank you for being here as well. Let me put you up on the screen. She's been rocking with me for a long time. C Breezy 40, thank you for being here. Spades is in the house. I hope I'm saying names right. I'm not good with names, folks. 93, Spades 93, thank you for being here. Brother Keith Western, who's ever a supporter of the channel. This brother is incredible. Happy Father's Day to you. I don't think I had a chance to say Happy Father's Day to you when I did my Father's Day show. He says, that's fact. A lot of these old films have hidden messages in them. Exactly. Let me see who else we have up here. We have Sister Nordstrom saying they've been stealing everything from our culture for thousands of years since day one. We were the original everything. Facts. Thank you for your statements. We've got, let me see, Turtle Island Assassin. Let me see. George and other writers added depth to the Force concept as the years went on. Funny enough, the Force has those archetypes you described, the mother, father, son, etc. Exactly, but they got that from what? African spirituality. They've stole stuff from the what we call Egypt. They stole it from a lot of our different African cultures, and they've also stolen some of our folklore and our beliefs. Black people that are here in America that was in those plantations, they stole a lot of stuff from us. Matter of fact, if Brother Armstrong, as I continue to shout out a few other people, let me just ask you just real quick. There was a rumor. I don't know. It's not a rumor. There's a sister by the name of Octavia Butler. Have you heard of her? She's a famous science fiction writer. Writes books. She is incredible. Did not get enough due that she should have gotten. Then there was the rumor out there, I don't think it was rumor, that the idea of the Matrix was stolen from a black woman who came up with the concept of the Matrix story, which really, if you look at the Matrix, it's a religious story. What do you say about that? False, true, or otherwise?
Okay, so that story's been making the rounds, and I did a little research in that, and I couldn't find anything to substantiate that.
Okay, yeah, that's why I'm saying that's been the rumor. Well, let me correct myself. The last I heard, and rumors being what they are, is that she was in a lawsuit to recoup money because I think her script or something got manipulate. That's what was put out there. But you're saying to us today that you've done research and you have not been able to substantiate that as facts.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So we're going to say, for the sake of having integrity here, we're going to say that this is a ledge. We don't have any factual information to prove it out, but we do know that there have been legitimate black people who have written stories that have been ripped off through the years. We know that's legitimately has happened.
Hollywood rips people off all the time.
All the time. And it ain't just black people. They rip off all groups of people who come up with a good story that they can make money off of. We got old reliable in here. Let me go over to good old Tiffany Jackson. She says, do or do not do. There is no try, Yoda. Sounds like, hey, look. I'm gonna go on a limb here, brother, because you're a truckie. Let's be honest. Yoda was a black man. Yes.
Tell the truth.
Yoda was black. God damn it. He was black. No, because don't nobody talk like that but us. Okay, do or not do.
When he met Luke, didn't he have hot sauce?
Hell yeah. Do or don't do. Who talk like that? Us, right? That's us. I'm gonna say that again. And let me say this too. Let's be honest, man. Let's be honest. A lot of that folklore, a lot of the parables, we know where they get this stuff from. We know, we can see it in movies. Just open your ears and eyes to it. We got Empress Queen in the house. Thank you for being here again. We got
real quick. Can I tell you this? This is But you know what this is? This is where they got the inspiration from the Oscar.
For the Oscar.
Yes, from Osiris.
They got it from the Egypt. Wow. See?
Yes.
See, folks, you're learning a lot today. You're getting value from the channel today. We've got my man Stephen Gilmore YouTube channel. He says, yeah, the reason he's successful, he did a lot of strange things for some change and a lot of funny stuff for some money. Okay. All right. I do find it interesting that they did use James Earl Jones' voice for Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But then when they took his mask off in that last movie, before they screwed up everything with the episodes, it was a white man. Why didn't they just make it James Earl Jones inside the damn mask? Now, you know what? Wait a minute, Brother Armstrong. That probably would have blew a lot of people away.
Yeah.
If they would have opened up the mask and you would have found out that Luke Skywalker was biracial.
You know, I met James Earl Jones. I was getting an award for a short film I did, and he was coming up to the theater to come to the award, and I was walking out to get a sandwich, and I saw him, and he walked up to me, and he goes, "Hi, I'm James Earl Jones." I'm like, "I know who you are." I was like, he had that great voice, man. I was like, it was such a it was an honor to meet him. I was like, whoa.
Wow. So there's something, I try to keep my frame of thought going because there's so many questions I have. Let me shout out, with the time that we have, let me shout out What We Know Podcast is in the house. Thank you for being here. And look, everybody, I need y'all to go check out What We Know Podcast. I was on their channel for a little while yesterday. We were talking about Roe versus Wade. I got into it over there about that issue. I will be doing a podcast, but it won't be on his channel or even the other channel that I've got to crack open some new things over there on the other channel, the Information Man Speaks podcast. I haven't done anything over there lately because I'm trying to figure out the style and formula of how I want to do the show over there. I'm trying to rework some things, but I am going to do an audio podcast, which is on my radio traditional podcast, which will be on Spotify. It'll be on Spreaker, all the other podcasts that you have out there, SoundCloud, all of that. I'm going to speak on that on my radio style podcast and give you my honest opinions about the Roe versus Wade situation. But I was on these brothers' channel yesterday. They gave me nothing but great respect. Make sure y'all check their channel out. So give them some subscriptionship here. They will be on the Information Man show, and I'll be interviewing them about what they're doing on their channel as well. We've got Black Man Unfiltered coming. You saw what he's about a week ago or so. We've got my main man, Sir Hale Speaks Network. He's coming very soon over here. A lot more. And there's a few other people I know I've said this. I think I've said this for a long time. Pastel Show will be over here. I just have not finalized a date with that brother. We had talked a little bit on IG a while back, but I've got to recontact with him. So there's still a lot of people that I am going to get on the show. Just a lot going on, a lot of stuff going on, and you got to prioritize life with what you're doing on YouTube. What I want to get into, go right ahead.
James Earl Jones has been replaced by a type of AI, his voice. So he's no longer doing Darth Vader.
Yeah, that's some BS right there. That's some BS. Now, this what I want to ask you now. Why haven't they, what is it about Darth Vader character that they have not, or at least to me, it seems like they haven't neutered Darth Vader, who you could make an argument epitomizes a certain level of masculinity, over the top masculinity, in a quiet way. Because, Darth Vader don't do a lot of talking, but when he does talk, you listen. They haven't messed around with his character yet, right? They haven't done anything to neuter him, right?
No, because he's an evil guy, and it's all right to have Thanos, Darth Vader be evil and keep their masculinity because that's the threat. So they have to kill him off. Killmonger. Okay. That's why they had to kill Killmonger off in Black Panther, even though Killmonger was right. So that's the same thing. And also we have to give George Lucas a bit of credit because when he has been developing Star Wars and taking it to another level, and it's very clear that his story is dealing with Black people because the test to see how strong you are with the Force is the midi-chlorians in your body, which really is melanin. So George Lucas, the
metachlorines, ain't that something, y'all? See, wait a minute. See, this is the thing. Let's let everybody know this. Brother Armstrong, would you say that when we watch movies or streams that we should really, which is an obvious thing I'm asking you, we should really pay attention to the hidden messages in the movie, whether good or bad? We should pick up on where they're stealing our culture or they're borrowing or using our culture. And then we should also recognize the bullshit that they're shoving down our brains, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is why you see that every masculine character, as you were talking about before, the Hulk, Iron Man, look what they did to Thor. They are emasculating these characters, and it's happening subtly and slowly before your eyes. And they're casting these effeminate actors in these lead roles. And I'm just saying, I see it very clearly, but other people are like, what are you talking about? Black Panther is not effeminate. I'm like, yes, he is. And one of the things that George Lucas is married to a black woman that opened George Lucas's eyes was when he tried to produce when he tried to get Red Tails made through a studio. That's the story of the Tuskegee Airmen. Every studio rejected it. And then he realized, wow, these studios are racist, So he financed that film himself, But it was kind of an awakening to him. And a lot of these Hollywood people live in their own bubble. They don't know what time it is. Like you see these stars, they get to a certain level, and like your Will Smith, and they're no longer on your economic and social level.
Right.
They get dresses and everything given to them free. They get the finest restaurants, all paid, all expenses paid. They get flown everywhere. They can't relate to us and our struggles. I want you to keep that in mind.
Right. Let me bring this up. What's going on? A lady 747. We've got Black T in the house saying, why waste time with that instead of trying to put out a good content? He says here, instead of putting out good content after good content. We got my man Yalpo. This is the brother right here that I was telling you that is a writer. He has a book that he has been producing. He sent me a copy of the book, the manuscript, and I've been reading it over. He's going to be on the show. He gets into some very deep areas. His Information Man show. That's why at the end of the Lovecraft Country, they put the brakes on the show quick. Only black people were able to use magic and had one at the end of the first and the last season. Wow. Interesting. This is what I wanted to say to you, and tell me if you remember this. See, when black men are put in movies where we're sort of the hero, where we're taking out some folks, right?
Rare.
Particularly when we're taking out white folks, which is why I thought it was rare when you had Django Unchained, where you had Jamie Foxx character. He killed up a lot of white folks in that movie. And you don't normally see cinema where they allow movies where black men are doing that in that way, as they would let, like, for example, when you have Clint Eastwood, he killed up a lot of people in movies and nobody had a problem with it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll Be Back, nobody had a problem with it. Now let's go to The Equalizer with Denzel Washington. He did 1 and he did 2. Do you know when he did the first movie? They said after that movie was, even though that movie was successful, the movie studios, after doing 1 and 2, they said that when that movie was being filmed or being shown in Europe, that the Europeans did not digest that movie very well because they had a problem with seeing a black man shooting up, or I shouldn't use that word, taking out white folks in an action movie. That they said in hindsight, they probably would have never cast Denzel because tell me if I'm wrong or right, when they're producing movies, they do consider the audience that they're going to show the movie to and how that audience responds to certain characters, especially when it comes to race, because they're saying that Europeans or white society in this world, they weren't too happy about seeing a black man do that to white folks.
Yeah. To a degree, that's true, especially when you start looking at the markets in China. China does have a problem with black male leads. So they tend to downplay the black male lead characters. They'll either take them off the poster or they'll minimize their images. So, yeah, that does happen. But a lot of times these studios, I don't know why they're saying that, because they do pre-sales. So they've already sold it. So they should know what the box office return, and they have great accountants, so they should know what they're going to get in return. So that's no excuse not to cast black actors. I mean, in a sense, they're right, but also in a sense, it's no excuse. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at going back, like I said before, with Star Trek and with this Obi-Wan, they don't care that people are upset with Moses Ingram. They don't care. Disney doesn't care. So they're still pushing ahead. So why can't we push ahead with Denzel? You know, so it's you know, it's a double standard. You know.
Wow. Is there anything else that you need people to know about making films or the film industry? Anything that we haven't touched on or you haven't touched on that you want people to know? And let me do this right now. Everybody, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put his link to his channel directly in it. I think if you go into the description of the video, you'll be able to click into it a lot easier than me copying and pasting it over. So I went to his actual YouTube channel where I've copied it that way. So it should show up pretty well for you there. I'm going to put it in there 2 times, and then I'll open up the GoFundMe on my other computer here directly and take the link from there. I know why it does that. When you remove it from downstairs to the link, you need to just go into the description and click into it. But go right ahead, Brother Armstrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah, or you can go to projectilluminated.com. That'll take you directly to my YouTube channel as well. So what I want to say is our problem is that, again, we are caught up in all show. You have to understand that white people are primarily left brain. This is why they're very good at linear thought, verbal communication, you know, things like the math and all that. Whereas we're more right brain, which is creative, but we're non-linear. You know, that's why you get the term Black people's time. So we have to start letting go of the symbolism. A lot of people, it's not sexy to be a producer because the producer is behind the scenes. It's not sexy to run your own studio because you're not seen as much. You know what I mean? But you still make a lot of money, you know? It's not sexy to be an investor. This is why you have the proliferation of people going to the music industry, because the music industry gives you a big advance and you're put out there with the videos, the girls, and the Making It Rain. But we have to start thinking differently. We have to start thinking about getting into areas and dominating them. If you can start a website, you can create your own Netflix. You know what I mean? You have to start thinking in those terms, get in the market and dominate it. Start thinking long term. I'm going to produce my film. Where is it going to go? Am I going to put it on my own website and charge people through PayPal, or I'm going to go have it stream on Amazon? So start thinking in those terms and start thinking big. You see that some of the other filmmakers, like you see Issa Rae, she started out with her little web series. And now it's blossomed into this whole big thing, Insecure. I think a web series is called The Awkward Black Girl, you know?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, she got her deal and she started working on cable, and now she's doing all kinds of movies and things like that. So we need to start thinking about control. You know, once we produce and we get in there and we start thinking about building a studio, operating, owning our stuff, not just making films, because when you start working with the studio, you most likely will not have creative control, or what we call as final edit. So that is important. And another thing I want to tell people is I have a program, and it's called the 6-Figure PM. This is how I got into making commercials and working with that billionaire I told you about. And what the 6-Figure PM is, you get into the tech industry. Everybody's talking about being a programmer and make money, but that takes learning code and all of that. But a project manager, I have a course that you take it 5 weeks, you're out, and we help you and we place you in a job with an advertising agency. When you're working with an advertising agency, you can work on commercials, you can build websites. I've worked for HBO, I've worked for Disney. That's another backdoor way to get into the industry. You know, I worked on, what's that fish movie with Disney? There's that, and Cars and everything.
So you've worked on commercials, you've done some work on animated features.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
I've worked on consumer products like with Juicy Juice. I've even worked with Netflix. So we've done a lot of great things with them. So that's a backdoor to get through the industry. And if you want to check out my program, just go to the 6figurepm.com. And like I said, we train you in 5 weeks, and then we place you in an advertising agency making 6-figure salary. And the PM is like an unknown type of role. It's called actually a tech producer, and it's the way to get into the back door of Hollywood. So
it's Finding Nemo. Is that the one? Finding Nemo?
Finding Nemo, yeah.
Thank you for that, Livingston. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, Finding Nemo.
It's been a while. Yeah, we worked on that. That was great. That was so much fun. So one thing about working in that ad agency, it's very creative. It's not corporate, and it's very diverse. So, and you're your own boss. So that's why I kind of promote that as a way to get into the back door of Hollywood. So again, we train you, takes 5 weeks, and we place you in a advertising agency, the job making 6 figures right away. Go to the 6-figure PM. So again, if you're going to get into film, just make sure that you don't do a drama about dysfunctional love or a relationship between a black man and black women. You can do that, but make it take place in space or something. Do a little different.
Now, I want to ask you this. That's fantastic what you just said. I want to ask you this before we get out of here. You made reference in your video about a lot of the content that black people have consumed over the years. And folks, don't take us the wrong way, but I do believe there's some facts to what he's saying, that there has been a lot of trash content that has been pushed and promoted towards black people. Well, all we got to go back and look at Bob Johnson, who pushed a lot of garbage towards us on what we call BET, Black Entertainment Network, which we already know wasn't so black after all, right? And of course, he sold the company. Then you've got TV One. You've had various TV channels or content that's pushed towards us as black content, but a lot of it is trash. Of course, on BET, they did have Team Summit, which I thought was very popular. For those of you that have been around for a minute, Team Summit was a good program. They used to have a 30-minute news program on BET, and then they got rid of all of that because, according to Bob, that type of content doesn't pay the bills. I get it, but what is your thoughts about that? Because you made some profound statements around that issue.
I worked for BET for a little bit way back.
Oh, well, my God, you know more than I would know. Shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's listen. Let's listen, everybody. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so he sold the channel. He sold the channel. Sheila Johnson came out and apologized for the content that they produce. And even now, because BET is not black owned, it's detrimental to our people. We shouldn't be watching it. We shouldn't be consuming it, and that is the problem with us. We have a diet that is very, very, as much as you have to watch what you eat, watch your weight. You have to watch what you put in your mind, and too many people are caught up on these black realities. Like these Housewives of Atlanta stuff, and BET and I'm sorry to say, BET and some of the stuff that Tyler Perry has worked in conjunction with them has put out trash content. And we are so socially engineered to accept it. We find nothing wrong with it. And it is very, very, I'll put it to you this way. I was going to work with this one studio, small studio out in LA, and they were creating a black division to make exclusively black films. And I noticed that when I started with them, that the white films had a bigger budget than the black films.
Oh, my God.
Discriminating, and the white films were shot on film and the black films were shot on like poor digital quality. So you're getting a poor product and you don't realize it, and it's detrimental to your psychology, to your mind. So divorce yourself from that stuff. Don't watch it. Start to read other books. Start to get deeper. Go read Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero's Journey.
Right.
Get other things. Learn good writing. That's what you want to really focus on, and watch alternative media like the Information Man Show to get to feed yourself. And too many people are listening to the news media and believing what the news media is saying. The news media lies. They're based on ratings, and they lie to you. They sensationalize. They go with what they know will trigger you, and they're famous for causing racial divides, and they do it on purpose.
Wow. Very deep. What is your thought? Well, maybe it falls right into the same category. Every year, and I did a video on my podcast channel, and it got pretty good views, talking about how embarrassing the BET award show appeared. You had the whole city girls or whatever they call themselves out there twerking. It goes back to what you're saying. Folks, if you want to eat well, you certainly don't want to put bad food in your body, right? So while we're trying to take care of our bodies, we exercise, we eat better food, don't forget, like the brother Armstrong has said here, we also have to watch what we're feeding our brains. Would you agree with me, Brother Armstrong, that the BET award show, whatever the hell we call it, is a detriment to the black community, that it is trash, that it is pushing all type of culture, pimp culture, stripper culture? Personally, I think Cardi B, along with Meg Thee Stallion, and then people like Future and all these other rusty ass rappers, they're pushing pimp culture while the women are pushing stripper culture. Now, maybe I'm going too far with my analysis. Maybe people disagree with me, but what are your thoughts? And this is what's being fed on these award shows like BET.
Why are these people winning awards? Well, they're winning awards because black people don't control those awards. Those awards are disseminated and given by the ruling elite. The people that on the front line may look black, but as I told you, Hollywood, BET, all of that is ran by Wall Street, which is then ran by the ruling elite. So they're taking their marching orders and they have to give the awards out to the negative images. I mean, there's a reason why Lizzo won the Image Awards. They want to promote obesity among black women. Mm-hmm. You have to be aware of who is in control. We're not in control. So they keep with the same narrative, pimp culture, hustler, right. And then they come with these, and this goes all the way back to George Orwell's 1984 and Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, where they call it newspeak, and they change the way that we think and the way that we speak. 1 + 1 = 4. Mm-hmm. So when you're shaming Lizzo, which you should, she say you're body shaming me, you're fat shaming me, and it's wrong. No. You're obese and you're going to die from a heart attack. We care about you. We don't want you to keel over and die. So we want you to lose weight. But they're trying to promote the fact that that's okay because they don't want us around. See, there's an agenda, and that agenda has to be that we as black people have to get off this planet. They want us off one way or another.
So if you have individuals like Lizzo who is saying, I'm proud of my weight, I'm proud of this, which will be packaged to us as having pride in oneself, woman empowerment. So Lizzo will be packaged as giving women that are full figured woman empowerment, when in fact, it's not empowering you. It's making you accept. I know what they're doing is she's trying to say, accept who you are. But the problem with that is that it's also a detriment to your health. And see, isn't it interesting that they're not pushing anyone talking to all our women and all our men? There is no one saying, let's get our health together, black men. Let's get our health together, black women. No one is pushing that narrative. It's all okay for you to go to the Lakers game and let the whole world see you're behind and not have an understanding of history, how in history, you know this history, how they had the body parts of an African woman that was traveling like a circus in a museum display of a black woman's body parts, particularly the buttocks part. And they embalmed her body parts. So when Lizzo does that stuff, ladies and gentlemen, she is reinforcing long-term stereotypical behavior. And black men who are pushing the pimp culture, the slick talk culture. We got a lot of these Negroes running around here on YouTube as well with this slick talk stuff. They're pushing these long-term stereotypes. I'll give you an example. I'm going to put it up on the screen right here. Let me know if you're familiar with this book. Everybody should know about this book. I had to study this in school. And let me see if I can find it. I'm going to slide this up. This right here, brother, let me tell you if you're familiar with this book.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I had to study this in school. Everybody, you need to either get a copy of this book or look at this, go online and look this book up. This is Toms, Coons, Mulattoes, Mammies, and Bucks by Donald Douglas. I had to study this book. This is a interpretive history of blacks in American cinema. And we know, this lets you know, tell me if I'm wrong or right, brother Armstrong. One of the first, we used to be a time when black people, they called it race movies. And black people did have their own movie studio. Remember a movie studio called Lincoln Films? I think it was created in 1915 or 1918, I believe. Lincoln Films, where black people, check this out, black people were actually making movies that weren't trash. They were making movies of black cowboys, black love stories, black heroes and sheroes, and it wasn't all this dysfunctional stuff. And then of course they had some stuff that was relationship oriented, but for the most part it was all different types of movies, musicals, all that shit.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we don't have that anymore, and we got all this exploitation films, biopic bullshit. How did we go from that to this level? I'm going to read this again. Check out Toms, Coons, Mulattoes, and Mammies and Bucks. Now, let me educate you out there, especially you, those of you who are into this divestment stuff. I hear too many people on YouTube. I'm hearing black women use this term mammy to define other black women as mammy, because they stand up for black men, they support black men, and they'll say they mammies. No, a mammy is a black woman who worked for white society. She took care of white children. She cooked for the white man and his wife. They worked in the kitchen in the homes of white people. That's what a mammy is, and this book talks about that. So people who use that term mammy on YouTube to refer to black women who are supportive of black men, and because you don't agree with their support to black men, now you have black women who believe in divesting calling black women mammies, when that's the wrong definition. That is a black woman who is working and supporting and worshiping white society, or working for white people in their kitchen, taking care of their kids. That's the true definition of a mammy, and this book breaks it down. See, people get on YouTube, Brother Armstrong, and they use terms out of they don't have proper clarification because they haven't done proper research or study or reading, and they throw a lot of bullshit around YouTube and don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Well, even though we have Google, we're still uneducated. I have people coming and asking me questions. I'm like, you could have Googled that. You know what I mean? And I think you're talking about the Hottentot Sarah Bartman, who was the African woman with the big booty. And if you read her story, it's really a sad story. I think Beyonce at one time wanted the option to make that movie, but it was a sad story.
All right, I gotta say something too. A very dear sister in the chat room. She says, a lady 747 says this: information man, with all due respect, black women get to define black women. This is women's business. No. I'm talking about the definition, a lady 747, a lady 747. Respect to you. I'm not saying that black women can't police black women. I'm saying the definition of what a mammy is not correct. A mammy is a black woman who worked on the slave plantation, or a mammy would be someone who worked for white people, taking care of white households, white children. That's the history of being a mammy. Do the research. The book that I just put on the screen is the history of it. That is undeniable. I'm simply saying people are using that term out of context. It is an incorrect way to use the term. Now, that's not me telling women what to do. That's me saying you're using the term, but you're using the term out of context and incorrectly when you go down and you look at the history of what a mammy is.
So are we
period.
We're looking at something similar to Hattie McDaniel from Gone with the Wind.
Right. That her character, and remember when she won the Oscar, and I got nothing but respect for a lady 747. We can disagree we can agree to disagree, but I'm talking about definitions. I'm not telling black women what they should do. I'm simply saying we have to be very careful when we use definitions out of context, because what we're doing is we're rewriting history when that's not correct history. Hattie McDaniel, who got an Oscar, they didn't even allow her to come on the stage and get her Oscar. She had to receive it in the back of the stage, right? She is a true depiction of what mammies were. Mammies weren't running around being submissive to black men and doing what black men want them to do. Mammies were particularly taking care of white society's families, and then having to come home to take care of theirs. And remember, see, people don't want to deal with this history. some of the mammies would actually breastfeed the babies
Yes.
of white people. See, people don't understand this. That's what a mammy was, ladies and gentlemen. I studied this shit. I read the book. They were actually take their breasts out and breastfeed white children and feed white children and then come home to a household where they had very little food to feed their own children. Yeah. That's what the mammy lifestyle was, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it was. Period.
Yeah.
I know what the hell I'm talking about. I studied this. You got professors who have done the research on this. This is undeniable stuff here.
You're 100% correct. 100% correct. And
yeah.
It's unfortunate that we don't, the younger generation does not study. You know, I don't even, you know, many of them don't know what it's like to go to a library and use the index cards and everything. So.
Right. No, and don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to tell women what to do. You know, I'm not trying to get in women's. It's not about being in women's business. This is about what is the true definition of the words that we're using, even on social media. Okay. Other than that, that's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to tell women what to do, what have you. But truth of the matter is, if we're using definitions incorrectly, what we're doing is we're miseducating people to definitions that don't fit what we're using them for. Well, that's the same thing that Hollywood has done with movies.
Yeah, that's exactly. And it's hypocrisy to say that Lizzo, you must accept her for what she is, but then when you have like people who want to be somebody else, you don't say, well, just be happy who you are, accept who you are, don't try to be something else. So it's hypocritical, you know. But that's what society's about.
I think everybody should be what they want to be, but I think there's nothing wrong with promoting good health in our community amongst men and women, because I don't want to see Lizzo pass away because of her weight having an impact on her health. I don't want to see that happen. And we know that Black people, we are suffering. You know, to talk about Kevin Samuels, I did a video, you know, whether you agree with Kevin Samuels or not, he was telling Black women that they were going to die alone. But the fact of the matter, Brother Armstrong, Black men are actually dying more than Black women. We are the ones that are dying alone because we are dying of poor health. Yep. See, I don't have a problem with criticizing either group. I'll get on men too. And as it relates to men, we're dying. We're overweight. We're not eating well. We're not taking care of certain responsibilities as men too. See, I don't have a problem with criticizing or having a opinion about either side of the gender. You know,
I agree.
But I want to say to a lady 747, I appreciate her in the chat room and having her opinion, but I didn't mean to come off as if I was trying to tell women what to do. I just want her to know that directly. And I appreciate you, sister. And I'm going to give you a clap. Okay. All right. As we get ready to get out of here, my brother, I feel like there's always something that I feel like I forgot to ask you. And it pisses me off.
Yeah, it's like an onion. You can peel off different layers and go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Oh, we got Sonia C's in here. Golly, Sonia C's. I'm great to see you. All right. Oh, let me ask you. This is something I want to say to you. Wow, this just came to me. There's a brother by the name Nappy Yankee that I listen to, and I was listening to his channel last night, and he was talking about the whole Bill Cosby situation. And we grew up being told that Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show was a epitome show of Black fatherhood and Black life and what have you. And we sort of put Cosby on this pedestal of like being the father. But Nappy Yankee said on his show last night that, wait a minute, there were other depictions of Black love and Black men who were 100% down for their family. While we put Cosby on a pedestal, we forget that when we look at Fred Sanford and Son, yeah, he was in a junkyard, and we say, well, why they got to put a Black man in the junkyard? But Fred Sanford and Son, if you really break it down, Fred Sanford and Son was very pro-Black, lived in a black neighborhood. You know, he was very pro-black, and he often kept talking about how he loved and missed his black wife who passed away.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
talking about his wife.
Elizabeth.
Let's look at George Jefferson. See, we laugh. See, the thing is, we laugh at that and we say, oh, no. George Jefferson, once again, was 100% for his wife and his family and trying to move on up, right? So in some ways, even though some of these shows did have their issues stereotypically, there were some things about George Jefferson character that we could say was a good image because it was a black man who did not abandon his family, right? A black man who worked himself up from the ground level up. There are so many shows that black men display, but we don't give those shows credit where black men were showing you how to be a man.
But let's not forget the alpha male. Good times. James.
Shit,
hold on.
yeah, man, yeah. Wait a minute. Check now. Thank you. Now, although I don't like the fact that, you know, they always put black people in the projects, you can make an argument, and shout out to Nappy Yankee if he's listening, that James Evans Jones was a better father figure than, maybe I'm saying blasphemy here, was a better father figure than even Hustable.
Yep.
Why? Because I'm gonna keep it real to you. James Evans reminded me of black men in my neighborhood they would pull that belt out and whoop your ass if you got out of line. To me, him as a father, he was more realistic than the Bill Cosby's character because he was, to me, indicative of what black men were about. Yeah. Remember the episode when JJ had joined a gang and he went out in the street and said, nah, you ain't joining no goddamn gang here. I mean, that was some real shit.
If you notice, he ruled the household where Mr. Hustable placated to, what's her name? His wife? Claire?
Felicia Falside. Felicia. Yeah. Right.
His name. Yeah. He placated to her, you know? So in some instances, but you know, in good times, he was the ruler of the house. And the actor actually left the show. What he says was the buffoonery of JJ. They were focusing on JJ so much that he felt that it didn't focus on the rest of the family, you know?
And the thing that I liked about his character is it wasn't one-sided. He kept his daughter in line. He wasn't going to let her just walk in the door with any sucker. And he kept JJ in line as well when he started getting goofy. And of course, his son, you know, who was the militant, he still kept him in check in reality too as well, right? And so what you had was a strong black male father in the household who took no shit from nobody, kept his kids in line. None of them were in jail, which is what we should be wanting from fathers, right? And then and guess what they did, brother? They neutered him because they took him, he left the show. Now they made them made her the single black mother.
Yep.
And that's when all the buffoonery really started to take off once they took his character out of the household.
And the ratings declined.
And the ratings declined. So while we sit up here and keep talking about Bill Cosby is the be all of E-all of father shows, you can make a strong argument that James actually is a truer depiction of black fathers that many of us could relate to if we had men in our community like him.
Yep, exactly. And that's something you don't see today. You don't see that today, you know? What we have is just this whole like feminine character that is semi head of the household, and then he's kind of like complacent or he's submissive to his wife, but that's all again engineering.
Right. I mean, there's so many different characters that we could analyze and go over. I think the reason why Bill Cosby's character, you can tell me if I'm wrong or right, became so popular is because it was the first time that we saw a depiction of a professional black man, a professional black woman. They're living in a nice home and all that, and they're talking the King's English and all of that. So I think that kind of captured, and I think black people got tired of seeing black people in this downtrodden, poor, industrial type of environment. I get that. we got kind of tired of that. But if you take away the projects and take away all the circumstances of them being poor, you got to be honest that James Evans really, to me, depicted a true depiction of a black father who took no crap.
Exactly. And we have to remember that things go through cycles because, people are talking about how the Cosby wasn't realistic. Well, it's aspirational. You see something that you want to aspire to. And white people do that a lot. They have their Superman, these superhero characters to aspire to be like something. So why can't we have our shows to aspire to be like something? So I don't take umbrage with the Cosby Show. I think it was good for its time. It showed a different side of black people, and that black people did exist like that. I don't know what some people say. There was no black households like that. Yes, there were. So, but now, we're seeing things change, and we need to get back more to that more alpha male head of the household type thing. If we don't, then the younger generation is going to be programmed. And their whole goal is to, the way that you bring down a society is to work through the women, because they're the ones that transfer culture. They're the ones that nurse and bring up the young. So they know that they have to go through women first to bring down the men. Because once the men have fallen, the race or the society has fallen. So, and the men are the protectors. So, and you saw that with James's character. He protected that family at all costs. He even went out there and worked himself to death to make sure that they.
Oh yeah, he went to Alaska, and then that's when they killed his character off the show.
Yeah,
because I guess at that point he was having problems with doing the show, and he moved on. And then we can, I think. Let me see. Sonia C says this: when I was in elementary school, the boys' father would whip them before the class. I was so shamed for them boys. That was overkill. Wow. Then we have the, I think Yalpo talked about the character of Rock, who was in Baltimore.
Yeah.
That was a great character. Remember, he had gangs in his neighborhood, and he told them to get the hell off the block. See. Yeah. Isn't it funny, ladies? See, for some people who are millennials who probably weren't alive to see these shows, you have to have seen them to understand context as to what we're talking about here and how the imagery has changed. Because let me just do a test right now. What show or movie do we have currently that's currently been out in the last few years, or a show that's on TV right now, or a streaming service that is depicting black fathers in that manner? Now, of course, we know that Will Smith won for his role in the Williams sisters and their father. But of course, he's kind of put boo-boo on that with the slap and all that stuff that he did up there with Chris Rock, that it doesn't get the attention that it should have got the Oscar that he won if he hadn't done that. But what program out there, Brother Armstrong, that depicts these strong images that we're talking about?
Well, they've successfully done away with that, with the whole toxic masculinity thing. So Rambo, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these characters now are seen as offensive, So your Rock, these characters now could not exist today. They would totally castrate these characters because they're a threat. They're toxic. Meanwhile, we don't talk about toxic femininity, and we've seen that in the trial, with Amber Heard losing, and we know that men can be accosted by women, can be victims of domestic abuse. So, these characters can't exist anymore. And it goes the same thing for, you have to understand that the black people are the canary in the coal mine. So what they're doing to us, they're doing to white males as well. They're dumbing down white male characters in the media. They're attacking these white male characters. This whole Me Too movement where they're actually going after these men for assaulting these women. You have to understand that there are men that assault men as well and sleep with men. So the same thing goes on, but we don't want to talk about that other side of the coin,
Mm-hmm. See, this is interesting. Sharon says that we know about Venus and Serena, but he has 3 other kids older than them. Yeah, I think because Richards may have had a relationship prior to the mother, and that gets very complicated. I'm not going to pretend that I know all that business, but there is, there's some dynamics there. It looks like everybody in the chat room. What do you say?
Look at the attack he got, though. When the movie came out, they attacked this character.
Right, because once again, it was a strong black man protecting his daughters.
Yeah.
And they didn't like that. And then he went under a lot of attack in real life. You think the movie was something. It was his real life that was something. I remember how they came at him. But it looks like everybody in the chat room, from Brother Yalpo to Black T, Empress Queen, Peggy Roster, Narratives and Dialogues, everybody in Keith is saying that there is no real black male character that we can put our finger on. Now, let me flip this as we get to conclusion. Are there any black female characters that are in that same light of a James Evans that we can look at today and say, yes, that's a black woman that I can identify with, that looks like and sounds like a black woman that I remember in my community? And I'm talking about black women who carried themselves with dignity, didn't take no mess off of nobody. You know what I mean? They were 100% for supporting their man. How many of those black women characters are out there too? Do we see?
There's mind control. So the characters that you're seeing of women are masculine, loud mouth, aggressive, argumentative. So this is what's pumped in mainstream media, and this is what they're saying that should be accepted, and this is the de facto type of behavior for black women, when it's not, because black women can be they can be strong, but they also can be feminine. They can be demure. They can be beautiful. The mere fact that we look at Disney and the fairy godmother doesn't have any hair and looks masculine. Why can't she be beautiful? Why can't she have her hair? So they're crafting a narrative of what a black woman should be, and they want everybody to emulate that. Or they want the women to emulate that,
Okay. Well, I'm going to put this book back up again. I want people to do some research on this. Toms, coons, mulattoes, and mammies and bucks. There is a lot of parallel to these caricatures to what we're also seeing with black people in movies and television. As we conclude here, brother, I remember that they were saying in the 90s that we were in a renaissance where there was all these different black movies that were coming out that were giving us some depth, and that we were now getting away from this sort of coonish type of caricatures on television. But I almost feel that we've gone backwards in our evolution, in our music and some of our art. Do you feel the same?
You have these white liberals in Hollywood during the 90s that would look at films like by Maddie Rich, Straight Outta Brooklyn, Just Another Girl in IRT, Spike Lee, She's Gotta Have It. All those films, if you really look at it, also fit within the mammies and the stereotypes. And the liberals were very interested in black culture. They were like, because they wanted to be black, they wanted to use the black slang. So what they were pushing was a narrative of the ghetto street black person, but it really wasn't a type of renaissance in film. And there was actually an article that was put out not too long ago where they interviewed all of these black filmmakers. It was very interesting, and they talked about how most of them, like Charles Lane, were set up for failure. So what we thought was, these great black filmmakers are breaking into Hollywood. No, they were setting these people up for failure. They just wanted to use them to craft a narrative. And as you know, after John Singleton came out with Straight Outta Brooklyn, Boys in the Hood, you had all of these other hood films come out, and it just kept bombarding us with them. And we didn't have a diverse array of films that portrayed us in different ways. And again, even today, they still are crafting the narrative, and they're justifying the narrative, which are Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, by saying, women, you can be free, you can be sexually liberated, you can put a pill in a guy's drink and rob him, and it's okay. But if a man does that, you're going to be, they're going to castrate you. So right. they're telling these women to be sexually promiscuous, to do anything you want to do.
Let me read a couple of chats here as we get close to conclusion. We got Sonia Cease who's saying all the strong, masculine, yet warm, loving black gentlemen all go for white women in the movies. They get so sweet and sensitive with the, I have to agree. They do kind of push that narrative. We got Yalpo who says, we haven't gone backwards. We are being pushed backwards, and we as black creators need to push back. I agree with that 110%. Let's look at some more statements here. We got Empress Green saying James and Florida was also the example that beauty and definitely is in the eyes of the beholder. You know, when I looked at Good Times, I never really got caught up in how they looked and whether he looks handsome or she's beautiful. I got more caught up in how real the story was. Did it speak to me? Did it speak to the things that black men and black women and black families go through that are in those conditions? And I think that as stereotypical as we can say J.J. Walker, his character was, the other elements of the show, I believe, was very real. The fact that James had to work many jobs. I mean, there were black people, black men and women who did go through struggles like that.
Course,
whether we like to see that on the screen or not, it's true. But we do want to have balance. That's the thing I noticed too, Brother Armstrong. When you look at white society and other groups, they can afford to show movies where white people are cracked out because they got balance. They can show you rich white folks, cracked out white folks that have this and that and not that. You can afford to show that because you've got balance. The problem within black society in this culture is that we don't get balance. And therefore people believe that this is what we are when we get all these type of movies. Jason Moore says this, actually Good Times was supposed to be as Florida Evans as a single mother. Wow, this is good information here. But Esther Rose, this is facts. Thank you for this. This is facts. We're learning something today. Esther Rose fought to have a husband on the show. Remember, Good Times is a spinoff. Ooh. Wow. You know what? Jason, thank you for that. Because I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be her show. And she wanted a father figure there. Yeah.
LaShawn Thompson said it's part of their agenda. Let me just read. And the beautiful lady 747, I'm putting her back in here. And sister, I got to say to you, because I love you, because you've been very supportive of me, that I understand that there are certain things that men should not get into when it comes to issues that women need to police each other, right? I totally get that. I don't want you to think that I'm setting up here trying to speak for women. It's just that, once again, there's a lot of terms that we sometimes use and they come from a place, they come from somewhere. But I appreciate you coming back into the stream. And let me just say this. The thing that I do over here, Brother Armstrong, is I don't have a problem with my audience and the people that support me having a difference of opinion. You know, I'm going to read what they say, and then I'll say whatever I believe. I don't have a problem with that. Some content creators, they get all bent out of shape if a person has a different opinion. This is not a a place where everybody got to think the same.
Yeah.
No, I want people. I think this is what makes my chat room unique, is because people have their opinions, they express it, and there's no ill will. And I do believe that men should take care of the business of men, right? And women should take care of the business of women, right? Because certainly I'm not a woman, so I can't tell. And men should just take care of what we need to take care of, what have you. You know, the first time I met you, first time I saw you, and this is why this is amazing that we're talking today, is I saw you on an interview on O'Shea Duke Jackson's channel.
Yeah.
And then this is how we kind of met, ladies and gentlemen. Then O'Shea had the Sunday Rumble, which I was a big fixture in the Sunday Rumble, and that was a crazy time for me. And you were on the panel. And I guess it was this whole pro-blacks versus, and a lot of dudes were coming at you with a lot of crazy stuff. And I just all I remember is that, man, it's obvious to me that some of these folks don't read.
Yeah.
They don't do no research. They don't read. They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. I might as well have been talking French. They didn't get anything I was saying. And
Right.
I was like, I can't. And, when you have certain pro-blacks, their first, first they see me as light skinned, so that's a problem. And then their only retort to what I'm saying is, you're gay. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I didn't even go back. But I want to point something out that's very interesting about what you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
Usually, let's say, for example, you have the beautiful sister, right? And she's in a movie and there's a white woman. They tend to downplay the sister's looks. They don't want her to compete against the white woman, and they do it all the time. There's the old saying that they shoot the white woman with the soft lens and all that. Now they also,
that's true.
Yeah, they also did an interesting study. And if you watch Birth of a Nation with Nat Turner, I love that film because it shows the love between a good-looking black man and a good-looking black woman. They really focus on that love. But they did a study, and they found out that white people have an issue watching black love on screen. They have an issue with that. And it's really interesting. I thought that was fascinating.
Wow. Let me ask you a question. Do you speak any French? Because Sister Joanne Instant Foot, she's from France. She has a soccer channel and she follows me. And sometimes I go over there and check out her channel. And I don't speak French, but sometimes what I'll do is I'll write in French with using the translator every now and then, And she's a beautiful sister out there in France. And she's come in the chat room, and I want to say peace to her. Give her a clap here. See, this shows you that black folks are all over the world. We're all over the diaspora. We're all just one step from being born in a different place. Like I could be speaking her language if I was born out there, a different culture, right? But see, this is the thing. And I hope she can appreciate what I'm about to say here. Let me ask you this, and everybody in chat, do you find that even though black people are born in different places of the world and we may speak a different language or grow up in a different culture, there's always some similarities that we still have as a people, even if we're different places in the world?
Well, that's true. That goes back to the 100 Monkeys study, when they found out that there are these mesquite monkeys that learn to clean these nuts, and that in an adjacent island, those monkeys at the island who never came in contact with these other monkeys learned to clean their nuts as well. So
nuts.
We're all connected by this collective consciousness.
Okay, collective consciousness.
It goes by race. It goes by the whole of humanity as well. So, and I've studied that, and I said, why we see a culture on the West Coast suddenly pop up on the East Coast. So there is this kind of metaphysical connection that we all have, and we all understand it,
Right. And I want to say, C Breezy 40 says some. Yeah, there are certainly some black folks in the diaspora of the world that's got their head in the sand somewhere that are a little bit on something else. That's true. There are some, and then there's some that we have some similarities, even though we're in different places of the world. This is what I want to ask you. This goes right back into the international thing that I was talking about. You remember a couple of years ago, there was this big issue about black people in the UK, from England, that they're getting all the roles. How do you feel about that? You're seeing a lot of black British actors, who have the British accent or whatever you call it, and they're getting prominent roles. You saw it in the Messiah movie with that brother. What's his name? I always forget his name. He played in Black Panther, and he played in Get Out or whatever. Get Out. What's that brother's name?
Yeah, I forgot.
He played Fred Hampton.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And there was a big issue about that because people felt that, these characters should be played by ADOS people who have roots here, who have an emotional attachment to these characters. Now, being a filmmaker, what is your thoughts about that? Because I got to be honest, some of these British actors, these black folks that are from the UK, some of them are good actors. I got to give them their props. Some of them can act their asses off. But how do you reconcile with that? And let me say to Joanie, she gave me a super chat. Joanne, right. She says, even in French movies, this is interesting now. Wow. Even in French movies, black actors never get lead role. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, she's living in Europe. This is a global situation. They are there as cleaners, poor, drug addicts. See, this is the global system. Killers. And it's so sad. We need to change that. The same stuff that she's saying that's going on in their film industry in France is the same thing that's been happening here in America. Now, am I wrong or right?
People, please understand that Hollywood is a global propaganda entity. It is set up by the ruling elite to push out propaganda on a global level. They don't want you as Superman or Batman. That goes against the narrative they're trying to
right.
They don't want you here. This is why we don't have reparations. Why give reparations, reparative justice to people that you don't want here? You have to think about
right.
that.
We are connected to each other by bloodline. So in keeping with, I just had to, her statement was fantastic. See, we're and this is a sister that's over in Europe. Yeah. So we know that this is a global situation. But keeping with the question I had asked earlier, what is your thoughts about that? I mean, I know as a director, you just want the best actors, but you've heard from Black American actors say this, that they see that these other groups are getting these roles because they can pay for them cheaper, and that there's some fascination with these English accents.
No.
Go ahead.
Does it make sense to hire an English actor and have to train them to lose their accent? So I did some studies into this. And
okay, fantastic.
People are going to find this a little bit difficult, but you can do the research on your own.
Okay.
Let's start out with Star Wars, Daisy Ridley, right? She, for one thing, the UK is very big on occultism. I studied occultism. So you look at individuals like Daisy Ridley and John Boyega, they come out of occult schools in the UK. Do the research. So these actors that are being in these films, they have a very interesting background about why they're chosen. So I'll just say that.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's what we're going to do, brother. I'll have to have you come back for another show at some point in time to unwrap other issues that are happening within this area that we're talking about. I want to say I thank you for coming on board and speaking the truth. Let's take a survey. How many folks in the chat room got value out of this stream today? That you learned something that either you knew and it reinforced what you knew, or you learned something new that you did not know. If you did get value out of this stream today, hit a 1 in the chat room. Narratives and Dialogue has just given me a super chat. He's saying, let me put his super chat up here, but I want you all to hit a 1 in the chat room if you did get something out of this. And I appreciate all of you who have spent your time today rocking with us. We got a good turnout today. I got to be honest with you. Narratives and Dialogue gave me a $10 super chat. He says, having a global conversation shows that problems are the same all over. Hence to the Black men passport crew. Woo! Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, because, you have a lot of brothers that have said on these platforms that, hey, black man, things ain't working out here in America with the women. Get your passport and get your butt on out of here. Now, like, for example, I've got a passport right here. I just want to let people know that I'm about that. I'm about it. I'm not just a, person that's, I got a passport right here. I can travel outside the country. I can move around these spaces. But there's this narrative that black men are going to, if we move to some other place, that we're somehow going to have wine and honey out of the matrix of America.
And cheese.
And cheese. However, if you still got these American ways that you have not gotten out of your system, all you're going to do is transfer your American attitude and ways to another country. That's problematic. 2, I said this to O'Shea Duke Jackson on his channel, and I had everybody stumbled on this. O'Shea stumbled on it and said, wow, that's a good question. Everybody in the channel, in the chat room, they had nothing for it. I said, if the women in the other countries were better that they're meeting, like in Brazil, where everybody seems to want to run to, or Dominican Republic, where everyone wants to run to, why haven't the men in those cultures who know the women better than you do, speak the language, know the culture, and in most of those cultures that are Catholic, they get married at an early age. Why haven't they married up those women that are making you feel like a king? Maybe that those women could be the dots of their culture, and that's why they ain't married them up. So when you go over there, you think you getting a dime piece. Yeah, they got a nice body. They making you feel good. But the men that live there know those are the thoughts. We don't marry them. Let the Americans come over and do what they do. I don't know.
Well, I will say this, that we have to understand that when we go overseas, these are family. There's Afro-Cubans, Afro-Colombians, the Brazilian. These are our family. So there's also business opportunities over there in Africa.
That's true.
We can take advantage of. We can set up businesses and shops. So if you're looking to do that, I think it's a good idea.
Right. Well, this is what I'm going to do, my good brother. We're going to have to do another part 2 to this. Everybody, let me remind you, in the description of this video, if you want to get to his channel, just go into the description of this video, click the links. Those links in the description, they do work. It's for some reason, when you transfer those links out of the description and you put it into a chat room, something goes wrong. But when you click into the actual description area, it works just fine. So check out his GoFundMe, check out his channel, follow him. He'll be back. We'll get into some more conversation around this particular area. Let me ask you this. Do you have any insight on any new projects that's coming out in terms of whether it be streams, anything related to Black people that we should be on the lookout for, that you may have some inside information on, that someone's working on? I know you're working on your project, which we're going to look forward to that. Companion, yes.
Yeah. Well, we know that Idris Elba, they're still in talks for him to become James Bond, which would be kind of interesting. And then we have Black Panther 2. So those are really the only 2 I know of that are coming out. But they're not necessarily Black films. But
okay. No. Now, I cannot end this stream without saying this to you. I've been following Doctor Who. Everybody out there, this is my nerdy side. I like sci-fi. I like comic books. I like all that kind of stuff. I have a lot of other interests. I've been following Doctor Who since I was a youngster, for decades, because the Doctor Who is a time lord. He's a renegade time lord who stole or took a TARDIS, and he changes to different people over time. When he's evolving, he'll change into someone else over time, over a period. He evolves. And I always said to myself, I thought Idris Elba would be a great Doctor Who. They should have made him a Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's great.
He should have been Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I got rid of my cable for a while. I have YouTube TV. So I've kind of been out of the loop with Doctor Who. So when you said that there was a Black Doctor Who, I almost fell out of my seat, because I always thought that they would never do that, because white British people are very funny about their characters, right? Yeah. But when you said on your video, well, there's a Black Doctor Who, but they also made him gay. Now, I'm going to say this again as a disclaimer. Who you want to sleep with, who you want to be with in love is your business. But it did bother me for this reason. Is because every time they put Black men or Black women in characters, in roles that we normally are not cast in, like the Black Spider-Man, they always want to mess around with the sexuality. Yeah. And and once again, I understand we live in a world where people have different preferences, and they want to display, and I know they want to display some of that. But I have to be honest. They never made any other. I would not have a problem with this if it was not for this, brother Armstrong. They never made any other Doctor Who's gay. Even the women that were Doctor Who were not made to be gay. None of the men. Am I right or wrong?
I think there was one woman who was gay.
Oh, okay. Then I stand corrected. Now, once again, I don't have a problem with people's preferences. Do you be happy? But it just seems like every time they decide to cast a brother in one of these very strong roles, they got to tinkle around with our DNA. I don't know. Let me stop.
And I think he's an African brother too. His name is NCUTI, last name GATWA, and he was in a Netflix series called Sex Education.
Right.
And he's
Now-
very happy. He's very happy.
Right. And look, let's just keep it real here. Other than his sexuality that they're portraying him as, let me ask you the honest question when we get past that. Is he doing a hell of a job in the role? Because I'm like this, brother. I don't care what race the person is. If you get a big role like that and you mess it up, I don't care if you're white, Asian, Latino, black. If you're bad, and I'm gonna call it out.
Yeah.
Is he at least a good Doctor Who? Is he at least good at what he's doing?
Well, the thing is, they're never focusing on the stories. We want to see great stories. That trumps everything.
Okay.
And the mere fact is, when they come out with something, it's always about how the character is gay or non-binary, and that's the biggest announcement they have. But I want to know more. Tell me about the person's character in terms of what character they're playing, the background, what's going on in the scenario, the story, who are the writers. That's what we want to know. So all of this virtue signaling doesn't work. And it usually ends up failing. There's a term that says, you go woke, you go broke, because it doesn't work.
Yeah, because most people who look at sci-fi and look at Doctor Who, for example, we don't care what his sexuality is. I've been looking at Doctor Who when they were showing the Doctor Who's that go all the way back to the 1950s and 60s. I don't care what their sexuality is. I care about how they're going to kill the Daleks and how they're going to fight against the aliens and how he's going to get out of this planet and out of this situation. Most people who look at sci-fi, we're not caught up in the sexuality of the person. We like the action. So then my question is this, and this is no disrespect to people's sexuality. This is the thing. Is it necessary to emphasize people's sexuality when you should just focus on the movie, unless you already are saying that this is a movie about A, B, and C? But when it comes to something like Doctor Who, no, most of the fan base don't care about. It's not a sexual movie. It's about sci-fi and aliens and other planets and time travel. That's all I care about. I don't need to know who he likes to get in the bed with. That's his business. None of us are looking for Doctor Who to do that. We see him get in the TARDIS and fly off to another place, and that's it. Now, what he been doing after he get in the TARDIS and we don't see him on TV again, that's his business, okay?
But then you have to ask the question, it's like, who are you appealing to? Because they're only 2% of the American population, and we're 14%. So is it that you are trying to force something about on the population or program them to accept something? So we have to ask that question.
Well, isn't it before we? I know I keep saying this because every time I keep saying that, it's just I got another question and another question. Is it that this is what's making money today? Let's just be honest. Is this really about the fact that, and I think people of the LGBTQ community, they should look at this because they're being exploited just as much as straight people or black people have been exploited. Is it that Hollywood is simply exploiting their sexual preferences and who they are to make a buck off of them by saying, you know what, this is what's hot right now. Let's make a lot of movies, put gay characters in the movies, or not gay characters. Let's emphasize that the characters are gay, because if we do that, we know that that's going to put a lot of asses in the seats of that community. So one can make an argument, I'm going to say it again, that the LGBT community is being exploited, and particularly black gay people.
Well,
because they're the one, they keep putting you on the screen and exploiting your characters.
Well, see what's happening. I have no problem them putting the gay characters in. That's great. That's fine. But they're being subversive in what they're doing. See, they're talking about we're for diversity. So they've co-opted that whole term diversity, when diversity means that you just want to push the alphabet community agenda, which is fine, but be upfront with it. Don't make it seem like you're going to now start hiring more Black people in prominent lead roles. You're not. That's not what's happening. And the fact of the matter is that they're lying, and they're saying they're for diversity. When you look behind the scenes, it's still mostly white males. So there's a problem. They're not for diversity. It's a big lie. It's their way of just pushing something, their covert agenda. And you know, a lot of these people in Hollywood, you know, they're very sexually promiscuous and have things that go on, you know, that they want.
Let me do this.
Normalize.
Yeah, you're right. Let me say peace to Yusef from Ratchet today. He says, "Is there a link, fam?" I've got to end very soon. I am thinking about putting a link in the chat room specifically to bring this brother up, because I think he can speak on this issue around how Black gay people are being exploited. Him being of that community in Hollywood and in pictures. I'm thinking about doing that to get his opinion. But I've got to end. Matter of fact, I got to end this stream off of. Hang on, we're still on. Let me say this, ladies. Let me do this little quick commercial right here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Those of you that are watching on Roku TV, thank you.
You are now tuned to BS3 Network. Changing the way you watch TV.
Everybody out there on Roku TV watching the program, thank you for watching today. We're going to end this portion of the Roku TV portion of the stream, but you can still come on over to YouTube and watch the program as well, or even in Facebook. Thank you, everybody. Peace. Peace to you, and I'll be back on next Sunday. Okay, and I appreciate everybody out there in Roku TV. All right. Hang on for a minute. So the Roku TV feed is off. I had to end the show because there's another broadcaster on Roku TV under the BS3 network who is going to go live over there very soon. So I had to cut off our connection. Let me come back over here to Brother Armstrong. We're still on live, folks. I had to cut off the Roku TV feed because there's another presenter getting ready to go live over there, and I had to be aware of that. Okay, Yusef, I'm going to drop this link, brother, but come up and speak your piece about the issue, and then I got to cut it short because I've got to end this stream. We've been on for about 2 hours and 53 minutes, so I'm going to drop the link, and we're going to get your perspective. Put that in the chat room, and then we're going to end after folks give their perspective. Then we're going to have to end it. I can't go 4 and 5 and 6 hours because I need to eat. I need to check on my young one and things of that nature. So there's the link. It should be coming in the chat room anytime now, brother. And come on upstairs and give your perspective. If anybody wants to come up and give their perspective, what I'll do is I'll probably bring people up one at a time and let people ask questions and then move on to the next person. Because I probably have taken up a lot of your time today too, Brother Armstrong. You got a film to produce.
Yeah, I had about 10 minutes left, but it's okay.
Oh, 10 minutes left. Damn it. See, I'm sorry about that. We're going to have you come back. But let me see if Yusef comes up. And if not, we're going to have to end the show and then bring you back another time for follow-up. And we got Sir A. Jones. Thank you for being here. So everybody, Brother Armstrong has only 10 minutes to go. If you click the link and you want to ask a question, it has to be brief. It cannot be long. Yusef, I did put it in there specifically for you to come up and answer that question that I put on the table. But it has to happen quickly because while the brother is still here. So we're going to wait a little while. Once again, I'm going to remind everybody, check the description of this video. You will see his GoFundMe for the movie companion, which is about artificial intelligence, AI. He's going deep with this.
Yeah.
And you said that you're going to go into the principles of say that principle again.
Oh yes. So in AI, in Companion, the movie, we're going to be introducing as the AI that's going to bring order to the world, the Egyptian goddess Ma'at, goddess of truth, justice, and righteousness. So
Okay.
we're going back to our history, our Kemetic history. So the premise of the film is there's already AI, but it's not a good AI. It's malfunctioning. It's not doing well. So they want to bring this AI that Adam, the programmer, created, which is the goddess Ma'at. And so that's something I'm really proud of, because we're going to have a beautiful actress. She's going to be playing that role. So everyone go to companionthemovie.com and donate, invest in the film. It's going to be awesome.
C Breezy 40 is saying good night, brother Armstrong. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to wait a little bit longer, and if no one comes up, or Ratchet TV today, or Yusef from Ratchet TV, or from Ratchet Today. I remember he used to have TV on his name, but it's Yusef from Ratchet Today. If he does not, if it doesn't make it up here anytime, we're going to have to end it. And then next time when you come on, brother Yusef, you're more than welcome to come over, and hopefully I'll have a panel, and we can, you can ask the brother some questions or give your statements. So with the time, so we're gonna probably have to end it, because I got to be cognitive of your time. So with that said, brother Armstrong, thank you for coming up and joining me today, and thank you for reaching out to me after the time had passed by, being a man of your word, and I'm glad that I could be a man of my word and get you on the show. And what I want you to do is I want you to keep me abreast. Oh, okay, here he comes. I want you to keep me abreast of the movie that you're working on, so that I can let people know what's going on too.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Looks like somebody's trying to come in, and let me see this here, if it's even going to work. Yeah, this is their connection must not be a good connection. So I'm going to pull that out. That connection is not coming in. Let me see. Try this one more time. Yeah, your connection is not. They might be using a cell phone or something. So I'm gonna have to pull them out of there. But brother, thank you.
Let me say it really quick about the AI aspect, if I can.
Yes. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So just remember that when we're talking about the artificial intelligence, the AI, the first thing they're going to introduce to you is this thing about how it's convenient for your life, that you should, adopt this technology. And what it's trying to lead you to is transhumanism. They want to introduce you to it because they want you plugged into the matrix. They want the machine built into your brain, so you can upload and they can download information to you and control you. So this is something, don't embrace it because it seems like it's going to be convenient for your life and it's going to have all these great things. That's how they introduce it. And it's very sexy the way they demonstrate it. They go to the stage and they're showing you all this stuff. But this is leading to a lot of what the conspiracy theorists say is the totalitarian tiptoe, which is the new world order, as they colloquially call it. So just be very careful of that,
Now, brother, let me let you know, I need to connect you with brother Yusef, because brother Yusef from Ratchet Today, I think he's got acting experience.
Oh,
he's
great.
got some acting. Yeah, I think he's done some. I think he's done some entertainment as well. So what we're gonna do, what I need you to do, Yusef, is I need you to email me. You can find my email in the about section of my YouTube channel, so that I can some kind of way get to his email to you. I think we got a sister that just came up real quick, because we're short on time with this brother being here. Oh, yes. Yay. What's going on? From France.
Wow.
How you doing, sister?
I'm doing great. Sorry, I have to do setting. He was pick up the wrong camera, so I thought you cannot see me earlier.
Okay.
So I'm good. So I have just a quick question. What do you think we need to do in order to have more Black director, and to more particularly women director? When it comes to films, and you think it's more difficult for you to be funded to produce news as a black person versus white person. Can you give us a little bit of hint from your perspective in this industry?
It's all about control. We're going to have to do what Bollywood and Nigeria are doing. We're going to have to start thinking in a big way, very similar to what Tyler Perry. We just need to follow his blueprint and do the same thing over and over. We have to create our own studios, whether it be micro or mini or whatever, but we have to create these studios where we exclusively hire our people. We hire and train them, because it's been demonstrated that these people, our people, we call them ADOS, FBA, freedmen, when they get into the industry and they reach a certain level, they don't hire black directors. You know, I love Will Smith movies, but he's not getting black directors to direct his movies. And there are directors that can do that. I don't know why. So, and it's also, we have to look at the fact that the film industry is very unionized. So that's an obstacle for our people to get in there. And if you're not a member of the union, there's no way that you're going to get any kind of power and position. So, and just speaking on, for example, I don't want to go too much into this, but this whole situation on Monique and her husband, it's all about negotiating power. You have to go in and negotiate your contract and say, I have creative control, I have final cut. And once you do that, you have power. If you're not negotiating those things, then Hollywood owns your IP. They can cut it up, they can do whatever you want. So you have to go in there and you have to own everything, and you have to actually get to the point of where you can reinvest that money into a small studio and build it up from there. That's the only way we're going to compete against that global propaganda machine.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand, but do you think that black people are so happy just to be in the movie, they're too afraid to speak up, too afraid to ask? Like, for example, men tend to ask for a raise much easier than women, because they say, oh, I'm so happy to have a job, I'm a mom, so I'm going to keep it low. So do you think is what's going on with the black people as well?
Well, you have to understand, look at John Boyega. He got into Star Wars thinking that his character was going to be a Jedi. He was going to be prominent, and suddenly he realized that he was going to be a court jester. You know what I mean? So you get into the industry and you think things are going to go a certain way, and they don't. So you have to, you got to be very mindful of your career and how you target your career, getting the right people in your circle, the right agents. You know, I was represented by the top agent in Hollywood, ICM, International Creative Management. And even I had to fight with them to get me in certain areas. And you know, they wanted me to write for sitcoms. I wanted to do movies. So it can be very difficult and challenging. So again, when you're working with your own studio and you're building your own thing, then you have all the control. I don't know, did that answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, let me do this because his time is very short. Let me go over, and I appreciate you coming up, sister, and joining us. This is the first time you've been up. I was excited to see that it was you. First time being on the panel. But let's go over to Yusef Ratchet today, because he said he has interest in the project that you're working on, Brother Armstrong, and I want to hear his perspective. Let me just ask this question real quick with the time we have. Have you noticed that they are sort of exploiting gay characters in the same way they have also exploited just black people and people in general in movies, that they're starting to just do what they're just putting these characters out there as another way to make another buck and exploit another group of people, if that makes any sense?
Absolutely, yes. Everybody's being exploited in the matter, and used to everybody. But yeah, it's everybody's being exploited in the matter, and everything is being weaponized against us as it is. So in a situation that's a genetic warfare with many different realms and layers to the matrix, of course they'll do whatever they can to make black men and black women not sexually attracted to each other so that they don't breed. And so I see this issue that only comes up in the black community. They only exploit black entertainers and black actors, and they want to challenge black sexuality, because that is a part of the fear of the status quo becoming the minority in the birth decline.
Okay. Wow. Yusef, do me a favor. Send me an email so that I can connect you with Brother Armstrong, because I know, if I'm not mistaken, you have some background in acting.
Absolutely.
Yourself?
Yes. And that movie that you're working on, Brother Ronald, sounds so awesome. I've always wanted to be in Egyptian types of movies. I always had the vision to do it, and I've always seen it in all white, like the Black Atlantis. I've always had these ideas, and I write up the scripts too. And I'm sort of a young actor, director spirit that I've turned my own way in Black media because, again, once I came, started to see the position of our people, started to see the effects of the media and propaganda, and started to see how important of a tool that it is to decolonize ourselves. Of course, they're going to hover over that. It's their way to keep their ears to the Black streets to see what's going on. And so how better to colonize people, you know what I'm saying? You know what's going on in entertainment because this is what they're doing in their leisure time to keep themselves entertained and not outertaining the world and everything that is their bounty.
Right.
Yeah, and let me say this because I want to go back to the sister's comment. I want to further elaborate on that. When you get to Hollywood, most of the deals, the acting jobs, are made through networking. You know, I'm directing a film, right? And I've worked with the brother here. And I, you know, and then in my next film, I'm thinking, well, I don't want to have to go through a lengthy casting. Let me just call Yusuf. He's good. I'll work with him. And I know he comes on time. He doesn't hold up the set. So a lot of those things are done with networking and who you know. So once you get a good reputation in those inner circles, you get recycled. That's why you see a lot of the same Black actors over and over again, because if you're difficult, like Charlie Sheen or those people, you get ostracized, you get blacklisted. But if you're easy to work with and you don't rock the boat, then you get jobs and you get opportunities.
Right. I learned that the hard way too on auditions. I used to come in so headstrong and so Black and powerful and just my energy and my essence. And I think that ruined a lot of opportunities because we weren't the ones running everything. And even when we do in our own stuff, we like to see a lot of whitewash stuff. That's why it's important to tell the African mythology like you're doing.
Yeah.
Let me say shout out to Hard Cole that's in the house. He's making some very good opinions, but I'm going to read what a lady 747 said in reference to Hard Cole. She says, Hard Cole, I have to agree. Movies are one thing, but what are you showing people in real world? Very good point. Very good point. But this is the thing about Brother Armstrong. He's a filmmaker, but this brother is an activist outside of his filmmaking. He speaks out. Okay, so you're not dealing with a brother on his pound today who's just making films and that's the little cocoon he's in. He's involved in other things in terms of leveraging what is important for Black people. I think that it is important for us to have as many Black filmmakers as possible to be able to tell our story. Now,
Amen.
Now it is true that this brother, see, we should be multidimensional. As filmmakers, we should be able to make any type of film with any type of cast of race of people, right? So this brother right here, he makes films with all different casts of people, and he also is very focused on material that puts Black people in a better light. So what we have here is balance. And even Spike Lee, you know, people kept talking about, well, Spike Lee only makes movies about Black. Spike Lee has done some projects that had nothing to do with Black people, but they don't tell you about those projects. They don't push that. They only just want to push, oh, he's this. That's being a complete filmmaker. Would you agree or disagree, Brother Armstrong, that you can deal with all types of genres of?
Yeah. I mean, it's Spike Lee's most successful film to date was a film, a bank robbery film, and it was like mostly white cast.
I remember that.
Yeah, but that he was saying he was going to do a part 2. That was his most successful film ever. You know,
right?
I think it was that Clyde Owens. What's the actor's name that starred in it? Yeah,
it was the one when they went into the bank. It was a family. I guess they were the family. They were put in camps doing Germany's.
Yes, yeah.
I think the father. I think they were trying to take back something that was stolen from the family.
Yeah, that's
right. Because the Germans took a lot of wealth from a lot of the Jewish people. They stole stuff. They took stuff, and that was Inside Man. That was a damn good movie.
I hate that I always miss the live info, man.
It's all right.
I set a reminder and everything, but
it's
I just
okay.
Say one point about talent.
That's because YouTube be playing games with the notifications, man.
They're haters. Yeah, they don't want us to bond. They even digitally and virtually see when we're bonding, drawn to one another. That's another reason why they're stalking everything and trying to control the narrative.
If I'm talking nonsense over here and foolishness, they'll send out the notifications and all
Right.
y'all come flooding in if I'm talking about something that's foolishness, right?
Yeah.
That's just how it works. If, like, for example, if I'm talking about which was a popular issue with everybody, let's keep it real. If I'm talking about the story about what's happening with Monique and DL, y'all saw it for yourself. I have 200-300 people over here. You know, people love that type of stuff. I'm talking about anything that's polarizing. People love that content. But I gotta say today that the audience surprised me because we actually did have a good turnout today. We've been on for almost about 3 hours. People have come in and out of the stream during the course of the day. The numbers have looked good. I'll take it. You know, I wish that my stream about Black fathers would have got the same type of numbers. That's now check this out, everybody.
I really wanted to come through so bad.
Now I gotta spank everybody.
Let
It
me say
really
this
does.
about
It does
Howard.
disturb me that the show I did. Now I know I'm being a little greedy son of. I want the damn views, okay? But it does bother me that the show I did about Father's Day, particularly as it relates to Black fathers, didn't get the same level of views that other videos I've done. And I understand it's not sexy, it's not polarizing.
When everybody come play it. When everybody come play it on the live stream.
It's not sexy because we're talking about the positives of Black fatherhood, and nobody sometimes wants to hear. Now, everybody that came over, you guys did a great job sharing the video out and all of that. But I'm just saying, I noticed certain videos get good views, get huge views, and some videos don't get the same views. And I know it's because it's not a sexy. Now, this topic, I think, was a little bit more sexier to people because we're talking about Hollywood and the hidden hand and all that sort of stuff. And I put that little fiery hand up there and had y'all like, ooh, what the hell let's go check this one out. He got the little fiery hand up there, and it's called the hidden hand. Uh-oh. All right, look, I'm being terrible here. I've taken up Brother Armstrong's time. I know you gotta go, brother. Go make your film. Go do your thing. Everybody, his link and his everything is in the description of the video. I need you to somehow, Brother Youssef, email me so that I can transfer his email over to you and you can make contact with him about his project. Okay?
Absolutely, and I'm definitely going to support any way that I can.
Oh, definitely, brother. And then
I want to say one last thing.
Go ahead.
We have to work together, and we have to be ready at all times for opportunities. I was in high school studying film. Spike Lee came to me, sat next to me, was showing his film Bedside Barbershop. He said, will you, part of it, he said, can you help on the set? We'll give you lunch. And I said, no. Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity, huh?
Right. I'm walking down 42nd Street Grand Central, bump right into Ron Howard and Brian Grazier and have a conversation with Ron Howard. He's telling me how Hollywood works. I told him I'm working on a film. He says, give me your pitch. I didn't have my pitch ready. Be prepared.
Oh. But when you talk about opportunity, you have to also keep in mind that if you ask for $500 for something to, I don't know, for a specific skill, they're going to ask you to say, $500, this is too much. Girl, can you do that for less? We're buddies. But if it was a white person asking for $500 or even more, they will pay without thinking, without a doubt. And this is what is really bothering me, is that my Black people expect me to give them a discount because we Black.
It's the same problem we got.
And I'm like, dude, I also have a house to maintain, and I need to pay my bills.
We got the same problems here in America. Oh my God!
He's like, is Black discount is not good. It's supposed to be because you're a Black person, I'm gonna give you more help. I'm gonna go work with you, and like. We have the problem because we tend to have a problem working with Black people too, because I will perform much better as a Black person if my client is white versus my client is Black. This is what people have also in mind. Sorry, I have a cat that is all over the place, and this is why we also have that problem. Is that the quality of work, Black people sometimes delivery is different if the client is black or not black. Like we're not even respecting the client the same way. Or you might be delivering the good way, but more times and with not as much energy, and which is really sad. So how do we change that?
We tend to underperform, and it's a psychological thing that we have to overcome. My producer, her name is Bo Fan Zhang, and she's Asian, she's Chinese, and she rocks it. She's good. I hired her because she's good. And my production manager, her name is Grace King. She is excellent. She's one of the top I've ever worked with. So we've got to learn that, when you are out there, think more about hiring the top talent versus, because we're brothers, because sometimes that can come back and bite you, And also, when I tend to work with Black people, I know that we slack off a bit. So I try to over deliver a lot. I try to work harder. You know what I mean?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to break the party up, but I have to put a crescendo on the program today. Brother Armstrong, you will be back on the program. I hope to see you here, my sister, again, and come up for other discussions that we have. It looks like we have a global problem. Yes. Listen to what you just said. We got the same problems here in America and probably all over the damn world. We got to do something about it. And then Yusef, you know what to do so that I can connect you with the brother here, and we're going to go from there. So with that said, everybody, I'm going to get ready to sign off. Yusef, you got a YouTube channel, and let everybody know where they can find you.
Y'all know how to find me. Can I use my last words for one sentence?
Yes, sir.
Say, if it was like what the sister said, if it was more of a norm to support Black business, we would be able to give more graces and discounts just for being Black and more nepotism. And I would also like to see more non-Black people support Black business too. That would be very helpful to prove and show that you're allies. Non-Black, you don't have to be Black to support Black business. And also when it comes to being multi-dimensional, as the brothers were saying, yes, really take that. It's many layers to it, and also honing your talents. Everything has a talent to it, and it has a other social science to it. Balance them both. Okay.
All right. So Sister Swan, I want you to let everybody know about your YouTube channel. I know you talk about soccer and all of that and all that kind of stuff. I don't care. I want people to subscribe to your channel. Because I just want to see people support folks, period. No matter what kind of, I don't care, folks. Just subscribe to this sister's channel right here. Let them know where they can find you. Subscribe, everybody.
Subscribe to Joanna Swan Football. Hi, thanks for letting me talk today, even if it was briefly. So I have a football channel and soccer for other people, and I used to talk about men and women. And lately, I focus mainly on women's football for one reason, because we don't talk enough about it, where it's like almost non-existent. As recently you saw in America, the female player and the male player in the national teams finally have the same paycheck, kind of, when they play for the national team. So it's a big thing for America. Canada is following the step, and maybe other country will follow as well. So by being out there talking about women's football, it's a way for me to make sure that they got a voice, they got a better media coverage, because it's really hard to find information about a women's football. If you type any man player, you will know how many minutes he play, and they're very accurate. Which teams he play, with the dates, all the statistics. When it comes to women, even in some very, very API is some data source website, there's a lot of mistakes, and this is not okay for me. So this is why I'm there. I'll slowly but surely I will make the world change toward women's.
Okay. What I've just done is I've directly gone to your channel and put the link in the chat room. So I would like people to go over to subscribe and give her a subscribership.
I do some video in English too, don't worry.
Right. But see, even though you're speaking in a different language, sometimes when I come over to your channel, sometimes I'm not even in the chat room. I just let it run.
Yeah.
Because I think you should help people. If you have, sometimes there's someone that you support their channel. Maybe you're not able to watch everything, but maybe you just let it run, play their playlist. So just let it run, because you want to give people views, and you want to give them, you want to give them that support, however you can give them to them. And I do that. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And you know, I've thought about in the back of my mind of doing a soccer channel because I am a lover of soccer.
We should definitely team
I
up.
do follow it. I do follow it. I have followed it pretty heavily over the years. I'm a big lover of it. And actually, it's funny that soccer is one of the top niches on YouTube because the reason why is because it's an international sport, so it has a large following, especially depending on what team you are
global.
featuring. It's global, yes. But
Yeah, it's global.
with that said, unfortunately, I've got to end the program now. But don't be a stranger. Come on back. Oh, just so you know, everybody, I got to do a shameless plug here. Y'all know I got a new content channel called Info Media Live, where I give people tips and strategies on how to build a YouTube channel. Don't sleep on that channel. I'm giving out a lot of gems and a lot of information that can help existing channels and people who want to build their channel. It's called Info Media Live, all in high caps. I've only got 23 videos on there and I'm getting views, and I believe that channel is only going to blow up as I continue to build it. And I have an international audience over there. I've got people from all over the world who are in my comment section saying, thanks for this, thanks for that. And I'm very appreciative. And then I've got people who have come over from this channel that have subscribed. Now, it is a channel for people who are trying to create content, or if you're curious to see the process of what we do to create content, come on over. I've got a video I'm going to be doing about microphones, the best microphones to use. I'll be getting into, they're coming out with a new mix board by Rode. I'm getting that mix board, that 2 version. That's coming out. I'm going to do a review on that when I get my hands on. I've got so much shit I'm going to be doing over there that you're going to get a lot of value out of. So anybody in this chat room here and those listening who have a desire to create a channel or you want to improve your existing channel, subscribe to that channel. Do not sleep on it. The channel is growing. I was able to get 1,000 subscribers over there in a short period of time because it's content that people are looking for. And most of my videos are ranked videos. So over time, each video is getting views, little here, little there, and any video can blow up. I had 2 videos that blew up over there. And so over time, it's a channel that's built to last long term because the content is evergreen content, meaning it will never die out. This content over here I do on this channel, I got to be honest, it's not, except for this one, it's trendy. It's content that will only get so many views based on the popularity of the particular issue, right? So please, if you have not subscribed to Info Media Live, go over there, hit the bell notification. It's on this page. If you slide down the Information Man Show page, you will see the Info Media icon. Click into that, hit the bell notification, share it. Share this video as well, ladies and gentlemen. Check out this sister's channel. I did put her link in the chat room. Y'all know that this brother's link is in the description of this video, as well as the GoFundMe. Please support what he's doing. Please support. We only have each other. With that said, everybody take care.
I want to give you the Oscar for best host.
Now check this out. Did you know this history? They actually use the Egyptian symbol there to create as inspiration
for the Oscar.
Oh,
really?
In America, you know how we have that movie award where Will Smith went up there and slapped.
Yeah.
See, you know, that's a damn shame. Everybody's gonna remember that Oscar because of the slap.
No, I won't remember that Oscar for that. I will remember that having a toxic wife can actually destroy your career. That's what I will remember. And that's another subject for another day.
Whoa. What's going on, Bonnie Rose, Empress Queen, the real Aaron Collins, everybody that's in the chat room, thank you for rocking with us. Wow, it's been great today. We had a good audience today. It's dwindling down because the evening getting late. So, Brother Armstrong, Brother Ron K. Armstrong, thank you again. I'm going to give you a clap.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, my sister. Thank you. I'm excited that you came on the panel. It's the first time you came up, and we have people that are fans of you. Sharon, definitely subscribe to this sister. Sharon saying that you've been telling the truth. She's feeling you today, and I'm feeling you. I'm feeling everybody in the chat room, everybody that came over today. This has been fantastic. So we're going to get ready to get out of here. I'm going to take over the screen. You all take care, and I'll see you soon. Again, another clap, everybody. All right, everybody. So this has to be a great show, one of my best shows, in my opinion. simply because of the fact of the areas that we went into, ladies and gentlemen, the deep areas of this subject matter. Brother Ron K. Armstrong knows his stuff. He brought up stuff that I didn't even was aware of, stuff that you may not have been aware of, or might have enhanced what you already knew. And this is what you get on the Information Man Show. I'm going to hit you with all different guests and different subject matters from week to week. You're just going to get something interesting. And I am looking forward to bringing more guests on like him who can give you experience and information because they are involved in these things themselves. So I really appreciate that, brother. I wish him nothing but luck with his movie Companion, the AI. He's going at it strong there. Thank you again, everybody, for being here and being a part of this movement, this channel and what we do. Don't sleep on Info Media Live. Make sure you get over there and subscribe to that channel and check it out. I will have some more content coming up next weekend. Now, you never know. I could always surprise you with some bonus content. And if you're wondering, hey, when is Info going to have membership on his channel, man, so he can start giving us other exclusive? I've been thinking about it. I've been holding back on this for a long time, but I am going to turn on the join the channel where I will give you exclusive content, or I'll talk about stuff that I haven't talked about in the membership section of this channel. So that's coming your way down the line once I turn it on, and I'll make some really cool little, you know, how when people have membership, they have the little cool emojis and all that. I'm going to make some custom emojis and make it really look cool. I'm going to have a tell the truth emoji. I'm going to do some really cool stuff with that. And the membership's going to be a very, you know, not an outrageous price. Because I appreciate everybody who does support the channel. You come over here, you give it a view, you share the videos. All those things are important. And with that said, I want to thank you for being a part of this program today. So let me hit that again. Everybody take care. Love you all. I'll see you again. Have a great rest of your weekend. Peace, everybody.
Tell the truth.
You've been listening to the Information Man Show, ladies and gentlemen.
Time's been moving slowly, so we already in too
Tell the truth.
deep. Can't get no sleep on each other, heavy teasing all day, and when the sun sets, you asking me to come through, kick it with you. Night turn into morning dew. Then you feel it fresh in there.
You are listening to Information Man.
That's right.
Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
You've been listening to the Information Man Show. I hope you enjoyed the Information Man experience, everybody.
Your place is my place now. My place is your place. Let's face it, baby. You know all the places. My place is your place. My place. Your place is my place. Just face it. No one knows my places like you do. Your places like I do. My place like you do.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Baby, don't stop.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
In our own zone. Make yourself at home. Get to know mine on the inside. Can meet at yours next time. And you feel it fresh in there. Lose control. You don't wanna go slow. For sure. We both already know your place is my place now. My place is your
information man, please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Yo.
Tell the truth.
Raising the Tobagos, we growing like fresh tomatoes. Them boys on fire, too fuego. We pass it round, hot potato. Everything is nuevo. I'm with my sweetie like Quavo. Need my cheese, need that queso. Need my bread, need that bankroll. Wake up, yes, Lord, I'm thankful. Another day on my schedule. Steady blocking the devil. I tell a hater, God bless you. Cherish moments that special. You gotta keep the memento. If you love me, then I love you, and I could never forget you. Some memories don't fade. Sometimes you miss the old days. But nothing changed unless you change what's around you, how you think, how you live, how you speak, how you walk, how you blink, how you talk, how you teach, how you reach, let it sink. What's your purpose? What's your passion? Get it pain? What's your plan? Is it plane? On a plane? Hydroplane? I'm just playing. What's your purpose? What's your passion? Did it pain? What's your plan? Is it plane? On a plane? Hydroplane? I'm just playing. I beat my Joe.
Tell the truth.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi, cause I'm a star and they can't hold me like I'm Kobe in the fourth. Yeah, nothing is ever forced. We headed straight to the source. No middleman, little man. Let me show you if you was lost. It's a couple college courses, but I ain't finished that shit. Been chasing dreams since 17, so yeah, I've been on my shit. Yeah, we loaded up the vault and had to empty the clip. Remember days we wasn't paid and had to roll up the clips. Now the urge be extra strong and they come in a zip. People say we taking long, but we ain't rushing with shit. Put the plans in God's hands and he gon' bless us with riches. I ain't tripping over shit because I'm watching my steps. Putting money on the phone, could dab and call and collect. All the respect, I can't lie, I'm just here for a check. Just to build my family out and to buy a family house. A lot of people only
tell the truth.
Put your money where your mouth is.
You are listening to Information Man.
Sometimes you miss the old days, but nothing changed unless you change what's around you, how you think, how you live, how you speak, how you walk, how you blink, how you talk, how you teach, how you reach.
Tell the truth.
What's your purpose? What's your passion? Get it pain? What's your plan?